Good morning. It's 6 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. It is confirmed the Tennessee Titans are on the clock and will stick and pick at number one overall in this year's NFL Draft. General Manager Mike Borgonzi yesterday spoke to the media in a pre-draft press conference saying, quote, "We've come to a consensus. The entire organization is to stay at that pick, so I guess you'll have to find out Thursday night who will pick." To the NBA and the playoffs, round one last night, the Indiana Pacers take a 2-0 lead over the Milwaukee Bucks, winning 123-115. The Oklahoma City Thunder roll past the Memphis Grizzlies again, taking a 2-0 lead after winning by 19 points, 118-99. And the nightcap, where the Los Angeles Lakers evened up the series to 1 game apiece against the Minnesota Timberwolves, winning 94-85. The NHL playoffs last night in round one. The Carolina Hurricanes beat the New Jersey Devils 3-1, taking a 2-0 series lead. The Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Ottawa Senators 3-2, taking a 2-0 series lead in that one. The Florida Panthers take down the Tampa Bay Lightning 6-2, taking a 1-0 series lead. And the Minnesota Wild beat the Vegas Golden Knights in the nightcap 5-2 to tie up their series 1-1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Wednesday morning, RKW off and running in studio on 104.5 The Zone. And once again, streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Ladies and gentlemen, it is NFL Draft Eve. Coming up in 20 minutes, we begin your Wednesday morning with NFL Draft stars, sleepers, and I don't know, it's kind of harsh to say busts before the draft even happens, before a lot of these guys have even held up a flat-brimmed hat that most of us will never wear and a jersey, but we'll say busts. How the Titans are won over by Cam Ward. Titans brass started talking yesterday as confidently as they ever have about drafting the former Miami quarterback. They have come to a consensus. We've come to a consensus that Rhett Bryan is the best in the business for Titans Radio. He'll be at 9. Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network at 8:20. It is Wednesday, April the 23rd. How we doing? Good morning.
Pretty good, man. Hump day.
It is.
Huh.
I honestly thought yesterday was, though. I don't know why.
If that yesterday was
Tomorrow
what? You
feels
thought
like
it was-
Friday.
Yeah, I'm not
thought
anxious
so?
to get to the draft, I think. That's the thing.
I was anxious to get to today, okay, because I don't have football practice today. All right.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
We'll get
It's year-round
today.
Very
sport,
good
isn't
thing.
Yes, it is. But we got baseball. 2 games tonight, so let's go.
There you go.
Let's
I know.
go.
Hopefully it's shorter than my game because the Vandy MTSU game went long last night.
Fill us
MTSU
in.
getting the win.
How'd it go,
Yeah,
Caleb?
good program over there, or down there, I should say, Murfreesboro. Great pitching last night from the Blue Raiders.
From the Blue Raiders?
The difference with last night, and Vandy's coming off of that big Georgia sweep. I think the guys were maybe a little exhausted from the exertion from the weekend, but not to discredit MTSU, because I think the big thing is when they got guys on base last night, they executed when they needed to. And when Vandy did that in those situations, they just couldn't unload the bases, and that was the difference in the end.
No doubt about it, man. It's always funny playing, I hate to call them little brother, but they are technically. I figured it would be the case like that. MTSU as of late has been pretty solid. I just knew they was going to, I figured they would play Vanderbilt like that, though.
What time the game end?
10:15.
10:15.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
I feel you.
You know those games. I mean, we all know baseball well.
you.
It seems like the ones you cover are the ones that you go watch your son at or whatever. It's always the long ones.
I'm telling you, that's nightly one. When we start a baseball game at 8 o'clock, look, your boy ain't going to bed till about 10:45.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
Yeah.
It be like that. Who am I? It be like that. I try to clean up my off the radio speaking from time to time.
It really do be like that.
It really do be like that. Did y'all hear? Y'all see the little girl? Well, she ain't no little girl, but a lady in New Orleans. And she was speaking about LSU, what was it, LSU football?
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Oh, wait, I did not. So
and
what,
she was just
me in.
like, she said something in the Tigers. And she said, Who am I?
She goes, my Fitbit of Louisiana came out there for a second.
She was doing a
Pretty funny. It's a
stand-up.
local TV person in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and they, recorded
The
it.
Tigers. She's like, who am I?
Tigers. She goes, who am I? Coach O?
Coach O.
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
I did see
That went a little viral on Twitter last week.
So we all do it from time to time. We drop our group chat language on air from time to time.
Well, Mike Bergonzi, Titans GM, made it simple yesterday. They have come to a consensus on who they were picking tomorrow.
We've come to a consensus. The entire organization is to stay at that pick, and I guess you'll find out Thursday night who we pick.
Did you have a lot of offers or a lot of interest from other teams?
There was interest. Yeah, I thought that was doing our due diligence and going through the process to listen to those offers, and there were. I don't want to go into specifics of what the offer was or what the teams were, but there were offers.
All right. Consensus, process done. No more semantics about playing the game or going through the process. The process is over for the Tennessee Titans.
No doubt.
They still didn't want to say it and still weren't going to say it yesterday. They said, wait till Thursday till we say it.
Oh,
so
as far as the pick goes?
Right. So it was funny when we were asking questions about Cam Ward in particular, because at some points, Brian Callahan was asked a lot of those questions, and you could see he was almost telling you, but then he would catch himself. It kind of roll backwards a little bit, but we're still, whatever we pick. Yeah. No, they're picking Cam Ward, and no surprise that they had offers. We had been kind of hearing that, but I was, surprised that he kind of wouldn't say at least a little bit of detail. But I get it. They're trying to stay mum still until the first pick.
Well, I'm sure also the league has a play on that too. Like the league, I'm sure would probably would say, hey, whatever you guys have to discuss on our network, on one of our biggest production nights. So yeah, I get that. Coach Callahan seems not to be one of those types that's good with surprise birthday parties and stuff, huh? With the way you want to give up information from time to time.
It sounded like he was excited. You just wanted to
I would be
talk.
too. I mean, a new quarterback most times give you more time too on the job. So it'd be fascinating to see how all this works out, man. It seems to be Cam as the guy. The new C word though is consensus, right? No longer collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration consensus.
Yeah.
Collaboration consensus, man.
Nice.
But it's Cam.
I will say it looked like they were all more than anything, the conversation and everything they said, everything they going on was the exact same spiel from everybody.
They're in sync,
they are
for sure.
on the same page with it. Now, how that works much different. Hey, we might not get as much information out of that building, but it was good to kind of hear them go through that yesterday.
Yeah.
The verbal gymnastics they're doing are interesting to me because they are now setting themselves up to say that Cam Ward's just the best overall player in the draft. Because I spent a lot of time yesterday saying you don't force need. Sometimes the worst picks that you make as a GM or a president of football operations are when you force need. But then they also talked about how much they liked Cam, the person, and the competitiveness and getting to know him and how using different traits and different experiences can mold you into an NFL quarterback. So they say they're going to not force need, and they say they're always going to go with the best player. Not always, but they would like to always go with the best player. So they're going to take Cam Ward, number one overall. So that seems to be what the messaging is going to be tomorrow night is, well, we just feel like we got the best player in this draft, and that's going to be the campaign they go on. So
considering they talked about how their whole scouting department, for the most part, I think changed, and they, pretty much switched up how they viewed and evaluated players and stuff like that. Their standard for what a Tennessee Titan is. I wonder what does that mean, right? It's best player in the draft. Like, legitimately, sometimes there's a better value right there, but this pick to me, I will say this, seems to be a need pick at quarterback. They need a quarterback here for the long stretch of what they're trying to do here. So that's somewhat contradictory, if I can be honest with you, how I looked at it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because I do think there's different valuations. Now, best quarterback prospect, 100%. Is Cam a top 10 playmaker? 100%. Can he also reshape and rebrand your franchise? After time, yes.
And I will give them this, that Mike Bergonzi did say, we want to look at who these players are 3 years from now. And the P word potential is very big with Cam Ward because in 3 years, if he hits and if he gets to the best version of himself, then he might end up being the best player in this draft. Today, I don't think he is, but that's what I thought was interesting was them talking about, hey, we want to look at who these prospects are in 3 years from when we draft them. And there is a world we could live in where Cam Ward is the best overall player in this entire field if he really meets his ceiling.
And I think that's what you had to go on if you were Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and Brian Callahan, is if a quarterback is put at your doorstep, right? Because you have the number 1 overall pick, and you actually did what you said you'd do and do the vetting process.
Yeah.
And I truly believe they did that. I don't think they're just saying that. I think they actually went through the process. There was some point, guys, and eventually I think we will find out that point. They might not give all the details, but there was some point where they said, you know what? We cannot pass over this. We have to gamble, if you want to call it that, on a quarterback, because it's always gambling on a quarterback. But even if Travis Hunter is, quote unquote, a better overall talent, we still got to go get what we think can be our quarterback. And I think they had seen enough and heard enough from the coaches that they had talked to over his 3 different stops. I think Callahan talked about that a little bit too. They talked to so many people that had the same message about Cam Ward that they started to believe it themselves. Now you're right. We got to see if this is actually going to work out at the next level. But I think that they were convinced at that point, some point in this process, that Cam could be their guy.
So that's a fascinating approach to what you just said about this process. Though, just real quick, just to play that part, you said they were convinced to believe that he was that good. Well, though, do you think they believed that he was?
Yeah, because I think they didn't know.
Because it's one thing to take somebody else's word. Man, that dude Will is a great guy.
Right.
Then you find out somebody's like, no, Will
But
sucks.
that's part of the process is film, watching him throw live, vetting in terms of talking with everybody you can to make sure that really is the guy that can have it up here too. Like that's a big part that I don't even think we've talked as much about with Cam Ward, is the smarts up here in terms of football.
The mental
I don't think he gets as much credit as he should with that. And I think at some point when you put all that together, because you have to be convinced. It's not a bad thing always, right? Like you're seeing it with your own eyes in some ways, but you also want to hear it too.
So, real quick, just on the 3-year thing too. This is the 3rd year for Peter Skoronski, which I expect a bigger jump, and also Will Levis. Is it unfair to Will Levis to say, oh, we'll really evaluate these guys in 3 years, but Will only got 2?
It is unfair, yes, but those are the cards Will Levis played.
I'm just saying, this is what they said.
No, I know. You're
to your
exactly
same
right.
point, Kayla, that you're making.
Exactly
Believe what they do, not what they're saying, though.
And by the way, we can get into it at some point, but the answer when Borgonzi was asked about Levis was very interesting.
It was open.
We will get into it. 615-737-1045. They said a lot yesterday, including why they're scouting so many D linemen and top 30 visits, if they want a 3rd running back, which I think we got an answer on yesterday. We'll get to that as the show continues this morning. And the slip-up that I think Mike Borgonzi almost had when he talked about Will Levis yesterday. We'll react to all of that specifically coming up just over an hour at 7:20 this morning. But when we come back, who is your superstar, sleeper, and bust in the 2025 NFL Draft? That's next. It's a good morning to have a good morning on RKW. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Boulding. We are brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. We're about to give you some stars, sleepers, and guys we think might be busts in the NFL Draft Class 2025. But first, we head to the phones, where Scoob is up first this morning. 615-737-1045. What's up, Scoob?
Good morning, y'all. Moan, Taylor, Will, good morning.
What's going on?
Good morning, good people.
I just wanted to call in because I wanted to give some crazy, exciting news that's happening for me. The Titans did a sweepstakes where they invited some of their top fans to go to the draft, and I was one of the ones chosen.
Nice.
So
That's
you
awesome.
will be seeing Scoob all full dressed out in the front row in the inner circle on Thursday and Friday.
I like it. Which jersey are you sporting up there?
Yes, sir. No, I am wearing my outfit. I have a jumpsuit
Oh, of course,
and a
that's right.
mask,
Yep.
Nice.
and I will be representing to the best of my abilities.
Scoob, are you ready to be one of the first things Cam Ward ever sees when he becomes a Tennessee Titan?
Yes, sir. Even though I've been on trade back, but I guess I have to admit that Cam Ward is the pick.
Sounds like it.
No
Good
doubt
stuff,
about it.
Scoob. We'll
Appreciate
safe
it,
travels,
Scoob.
man. Enjoy
Nice,
it. Thank you,
Scoob.
man.
Yeah, see
That's
you
awesome.
tomorrow night.
Congratulations. That's pretty cool.
It is. I also got that email. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to submit for it either.
Yeah, right?
No, I think, anybody who went to a
Going
game
in the draft.
gets
I
it.
was
I don't
just
know.
like, I
At
was.
least gets the chance to submit.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is.
Brian up next, 615-737-1045. Hey, Brian.
What's up, Rye guy?
Hey, man, how y'all doing?
Good.
Good morning.
Good. So I was listening to that radio show before y'all this morning. It's called Two Bros and a Cup of Joe. And one of the guys on there, they said that the Titans drafting Cam Ward with the #1 pick, even though he, quote, isn't top 5 talent, makes them losers. What do y'all think about that? I mean, obviously, I don't agree with that. You know, a QB obviously takes priority, but I just wanted to see what y'all thought.
Thank you, Brian. I think people who host shows like that, and probably even specifically that show, know very little about the Tennessee Titans.
I've
Let's just be honest.
honestly, I've listened to that show because I just get up in the morning, get in my car, and I'm on the way here, and I'm listening sometimes. And I will say this, when they talk about the Titans, and no shade against those guys, but it's very, not as accurate as anybody would be here. So I think that they're just, they're on the West Coast, or they're kind of all over the place and do that show. And while there's some good things about it, I don't think they're exactly connected.
Yeah, it's not personal towards them. They're one of many national radio shows that don't really take the time to do much research or conversation in the weeds about this local professional football team. They are more concerned with national markets and big markets, and that is unfortunately the plight of covering the NFL on national radio. They just, mid-market teams that aren't good, and this one hasn't been good in a couple of years, get unfairly judged and unfairly just pushed to the side. So I wouldn't put much stock in what they say about the Titans, with all due respect to them.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how I feel. But here's what that you're going to have to end up fighting that, too, because we're talking about. You're speaking about a quarterback that has some questions to the national audience for a pick that they don't see as justified. And that's the biggest conversation behind it, is the one overall. And a lot of people are going to look at Abdul or Travis and say, oh, that's a justifiable first-round pick or #1 overall pick.
There's a lot of national media that would rather Cam Ward go to New York.
Yeah.
That would rather Cam Ward even go to Cleveland.
Yep.
For sure.
Because they want him to not be just disappearing. But I do think that this will bring eyeballs and will bring attention where people will talk about this franchise more intelligently because they are interested in watching Cam Ward's story continue here. Cam Ward is you drafted a guy #1 overall, especially a quarterback. And you're bringing out eyeballs and attention in the process.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So who is going to be a star, bust, or sleeper in the NFL draft class? A couple of these were very easy. One of them maybe a little bit more challenging. But I like the three that I've got here. Let's start, Kayla, with your star in the NFL draft class in 2025.
My star is going to be Mr. Travis Hunter. I have been a fan of his for a while, and I just think that while it's probably not going to be a situation where he's going to play full-time both positions in terms of cornerback and wide receiver, I truly feel like whoever does draft Travis Hunter, they're going to figure out the best place for him, but I think he'll still be able to contribute a little on the other side, whatever that might be. I just love this guy's, like, again, I'm all for like the Cam Ward mentality too, and like his leadership and the way he goes about things. I see that in Travis Hunter too. Like, he's a dog. Like, he's going to go out there. He's going to do the work. He's going to put in the work to make sure he is the best at the next level. And I just have so much confidence in that, and already seen what he can do at the college level. I just think that that's going to translate to wherever he goes. So I think he's going to be a star.
What position would be a star?
I think he is actually going to be a corner.
Okay.
And I think they can utilize him in certain situations if they want to offensively. But I think corner is where I'm going to put him.
It does feel like this draft has a couple of the most interesting individual prospects that we've seen in a long time. And
Sure.
I think Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter are both two of the more fascinating prospects in terms of what their potential could be and how challenging it is going to be for them to succeed where they're going as well. So Travis is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I like it.
Very much so.
Ramon, who you got? Biggest
For
star.
us, biggest star? Light work. And it's specific to what place he goes to. But I got Abdul Carter. If he goes to New England, absolute diamond. You hear me? Because he's going to be with a coach that's very defensive-minded on a team that's going to have a veteran in front of him, Harold Landry, with a team that is playing in a pass-friendly Division II, meaning he's got to see Buffalo. He's got to see Miami, right? He's got to see the Jets. Those teams right there are going to want to move the ball around. And can you imagine a defense where you have a guy that played the position like he did with Abdul Carter? I think he has the attributes that you're looking for. He's got the reps, his ability to be a rover on how he plays his position too. He can play off ball. He can play at the line of scrimmage, and I feel like with the right defensive-minded guy around him and the support, and that's one thing that New England has always been overlooked as if he goes there more than anything. If he goes there or Cleveland, especially with Myles Garrett on the other side, I'm talking about he walks into hey, let me show you the red carpet on how we do this. I think those two spots. Now, if he goes to the Giants, I feel a little bit different. I feel like the organization is – you figure it out on your own. I don't think there's much guidance there the way you need it between, and I say that about a Cleveland and New England team.
I don't know, though. I think that as long as they keep Kayvon Thibodeau and, the interior defensive line talent that they have and Brian Burns, like, I could see a world where Abdul Carter is great in New York.
Great in New York. I hope as far as own personal drive more than anything, though, because I look at a coach that's on the fringe of getting fired, right? With a group, you're right, a very talented group around them, but they're young. And that young group,
for sure,
they are, hey, let me go get mine instead of let me show you how to go eat type of team, I feel like.
Yeah, Dexter Lawrence inside, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau outside with Abdul Carter. I mean, there's also a world where they probably move on. Not probably, where they maybe move on from Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
When you bring him in. But Brian Burns isn't super young anymore.
No, he's not. You're right.
No.
Brian Burns.
I like him, though, but yeah.
I understand your point, though. Like,
yeah.
it's New York. A lot of guys put on a Giants jersey and, forget how to play football and forget how to stay healthy.
As of late. And the city swallowed.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I think Ashton Genty is going to be an absolute superstar.
That's easy.
In the NFL. 7 yards per carry last year. He forced a nation-leading 126 missed tackles in 2024. I think where there's untapped potential, though, with Ashton Genty is the pass-catching ability, because he was not asked to do that as much at Boise State. 23 catches for just 138 yards last season, but there is talent and ability there in the moments where he does catch passes, where he is a wide receiver. Guys, he is the most sure thing in a draft where Abdul Carter could go to a loser team, like you mentioned, Ramon, and also has a little bit of injury red flag going in. Doesn't concern me, but I think it's a yellow flag for him as much as it's stuck around. I think Travis Hunter is elite at two different things, which is what makes him elite. I worry about him holding up physically against more physical wide receivers if he's a DB, or more physical corners if he's a wide receiver. I just think the thing that makes him so good is his ability to do two things, not his ability to do one thing at a very, very elite level. And then the quarterbacks, I think, are a little bit of a question mark. And Cam, I think there is a world where Cam Ward is a superstar. I think there's a world where he regresses back to having less talented players around him and is a turnover machine, which worries me. So that brings me to Genty, is I think the most sure thing in this entire draft in terms of what he is able to do in the production that he's given for years at that position at Boise State.
No doubt. Listen, that right there, feed them. Barring injury, to your point, Will, barring injury, first odds with Offensive Rookie of the Year, maybe because of
Good question.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Those are already out.
So whether we all didn't choose him because he's coming here or what, so does it matter if Cam Ward is a superstar, or does it matter if he's just good and just keep it there?
In how long?
Yeah, because superstar.
Over his whole career, I mean, we'd love
The
it. He's
ideal
number one overall pick.
situation-
You'd like for him to be a
Because we're
superstar.
talking about in year one real quick, though, right?
I just mean in general,
Okay.
like just
And
over
I
their
was more-
careers.
I was more going year one, but
Okay,
I
for
get
sure.
it overall. Yeah.
I think it's just first be really good. We'll get the superstar
Yeah.
stuff when you win games.
Yeah, he doesn't need to come in and save everybody yet.
Okay,
Right. And
all
I
right,
think
bet.
that's why for me in year one, I think you just need to be happy with, seeing him out there learning, winning some games, growing as a quarterback. I don't think you necessarily need him to be a superstar in terms of Cam Warren.
Who is a sleeper, Ramon Foster, in the NFL draft?
Sleeper in NFL draft. Omar Norman-Lott.
Oh, I almost did this exact same thing.
Omar Norman-Lott.
I couldn't agree more.
He will be in a position or spot to where he probably won't be the starter. He's going to be in a specialty piece situation to where he can come in and wreck games. I look at him and Braden Fisk as very much the same type of defensive lineman, to where you're going to say to yourself, what? He got 8 sacks on the year? What? He's got this many TFLs? He's a guy put in the right situation again. Right, but I look at his skill set. Very powerful at the line of scrimmage. Great, powerful hands. Got an angry side to him and then he's just a sleeper in the fact that his expectation where he'll be drafted late second, third round. You find yourself in a rotation with a team, probably a good team at that you can be very effective. I got Omar Norman-Lott as one of my guys too.
Yeah.
We'll test if he can stay healthy too.
I totally agree. His pressure rate, as high as it was last season at Tennessee, didn't play a lot of snaps, but when he was out there, my goodness. The speed. NFL defensive line coaches love guys like Omar Norman-Lott. Guys like him stick all the time in this league. Like a guy named Aaron Donald.
Sleeper. Yeah.
No pressure, Omar.
And I got a bus that I have to relate to differently too. His style is more apt to, or is more pro to what the NFL defensive linemen rushers are.
Sure.
Foreshadow my next answer.
Okay. Kayla, who's your sleeper?
And I think Titans should pay attention to this one because I think it's somebody who could realistically be someone they could get in this draft. You're probably familiar with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and what he did last year as a rookie. They're doing a lot of good stuff up in Louisville in terms of their cornerbacks specifically and developing them. Quincy Riley, the cornerback out of Louisville, is a sleeper in my eyes. I don't think he's been talked about as much. This is a guy that can turn over the ball, and he has a knack for producing those interceptions. He had 15 over 55 games at Middle Tennessee and Louisville, so he spent time down here too in Middle Tennessee. Added that 39 pass breakups and a forced fumble over that time as well. He is awesome in terms of athleticism too. He was a 100 and 200 meter track star in high school. And so he's got the athleticism. I think the biggest thing for me, though, is when you start producing caliber talent at a school, like I use Ohio State for an instance for wide receivers, we're starting to see that at Louisville with their cornerbacks. And I truly feel like not only would he be a good fit, but I think he could catch on real quick and be a big part of this offense or defense. But really, I think wherever you want to draft him, he's going to be good.
He ran a 10.48 100-meter dash in high school. It's pretty good.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
We'll take it. Started at MTSU, finished at Louisville. It feels very safe to say that he is one of the top players on day 3 of the Titans board. No question.
For sure.
I like it. Cam Scattaboo is my sleeper.
I love him.
I think sometimes we overthink things that are very simple in the NFL draft process. It is why I value college football people's opinion on the NFL draft, because college football people, get this, watch college football, which is awesome. Cam Scattaboo in tights does not look like a star NFL running back. Cam Scattaboo, when you actually play football with a ball and a helmet and shoulder pads, is just a good football player. And sometimes it truly can just be that simple. I think he is drafted into a situation where he can be a bruiser. He can be a third-round back. I mean, the thing is, like, his numbers compared to some really good NFL draft prospects are significant. He is the first FBS player with 1,500 yards or more rushing and 500 yards or more receiving in the same season since Christian McCaffrey.
Jeez.
The receiving ability of a guy who is built like an inside linebacker is fascinating to me as an NFL draft prospect. So I think Cam Skattebo is going to be a great NFL running back. Give me him as my sleeper in this class.
I like that. And I don't know if you guys heard what they said about the running back yesterday when asked that question.
We'll get to it later in the show.
Yeah, but that sounded like they're really interested in a running back.
I think so. Overhyped. Who is getting too much love? Who do you think has a chance to be a bust, Kayla?
Oh, man. It's got to be a quarterback for me. And, Will, I know you're going one direction, so I'll go the other direction on another quarterback. I just feel like if it wasn't always about the quarterback and you've got to get the quarterback while they're there, Jackson Dart. I just think, like, to be considered a guy that could go second in terms of quarterbacks this year, because, again, we're not sure if he'll go before Shador Sanders or not at this point. I personally still like Shador Sanders, even though maybe I'd like him to sit a year or so. I know he's an athlete. He's got, below average arm strength, though. I just don't think in that Lane Kiffin offense, you get to the next level and you're just going to instantly be like a quarterback that's going to find success right away. And you've got to be in the exact right system. I think he's been overhyped since the start of this whole process. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's gone down. I actually think it's gone up in terms of his hype.
Fair enough. Jackson Dart. Okay.
J Dart, baby.
Ramon, who you got?
Yeah.
Man, it's correlated to the last guy I picked as a sleeper, I guess is what it was, on my normal. I'm going Mason Graham.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I've not heard a lot of this discourse. It feels like everybody is very high on him. Why are you not as high?
For where he's picked at. Mm-hmm. The role that he's going to end up having to play. Like in his best productive season, he weighed about 315 to 320 at Michigan, his All-American season. Right now, he's dropped, I think, under or right at 306, if I'm not mistaken, at his pro day. I'm looking at a guy to understand he's going to have more twitch, more style to his game for what he's asked to do. I also say this, too, specifically if he's drafted to Jacksonville, too. Jacksonville, for the life of them, cannot find a stud whatsoever at defensive line and haven't been able to for years. I don't know what their system is. I don't know what their culture is, but their ability to find a guy in that top five. And another reason, too, I don't think he correlates for where he's been picked at to the type of guys that they are looking for. Another guy that's from Michigan, Maisie Smith, however you say his name, too, is one of the least rated defensive linemen in the NFL from the University of Michigan, too, who hasn't translated over. Now, his role is going to be having to be a guy that can be a pass rush specialist, get up the field and be a disruptor. Here's the thing. You can do that in college. Offensive lineman, a little bit more savvy, a little bit more smarter when you get to the NFL. His ability to run around and create and do those types of things, those hustle plays, I don't see that being his strong suit. And specifically, I look at guys that play D-tackle, that are that high up, or more of your straight line, get up the field and attacking type of guys.
Interesting.
He's a wrestler style, great with his hands, get you at the line of scrimmage if he can type of guy. I look at Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's a missile getting up the field and very athletic in the things that he do. Not just him, but Kalijah Cansey, another undersized guy that played that. I say bust because of the production that will be expected.
Based on where he's picked.
The production of it. Like it's 3 sacks, 12 tackles, or 40 tackles on the season. Good in the NFL for a top 10 pick.
It's a tricky position to evaluate statistically.
And if he goes to Jacksonville, I'll say that again. Who of their defensive line picks, other than Josh Allen Hines, who wasn't even a first rounder, has really done what you wanted him to do?
Yeah, Trayvon Walker's been okay. I mean, he's been fine. I don't think he's been number one overall pick level, though.
Yeah.
I think if they were doing that back, they'd love to have Aiden Hutchinson instead.
Yeah.
Trayvon Walker is like the least hyped number one pick pre, middle, and post-draft that we have ever seen. There was nobody talking about Trayvon Walker, and there still isn't.
Yeah.
We're doing that thing again, guys, where we elevate a quarterback with supreme physical abilities who just doesn't really play that much quarterback. It's Tyler Shuck. It's easy. Tyler Shuck is way too overhyped. I was on the Tyler Shuck train at the Senior Bowl process when it was like, hey, this guy could go on day 3 and be a good backup. who could maybe develop into a starter one day. Okay, cool. Tyler Shuck has no business being in conversations with teams like the New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, or New Orleans Saints as a potential year 1 or 2 starter. The guy has, in one time in his 7-year college career, played more than 8 games in a season.
Jeez.
3 years in Eugene. I mean, he's got a lot of degrees. Criminal justice and political science in Oregon. Entered the portal for the first time February of 2021 after originally committing to Mario Cristobal at Oregon as one of the top-ranked quarterbacks in his class. Committed to Texas Tech, earned the starting job, 3 major injuries in 3 seasons in Lubbock. Then he goes to Louisville for his 7th and final season. He's good. He was fine. I mean, the Cardinals went 8-4 last year, but just because this guy looks like an action figure and can throw the ball over those mountains does not mean that a player that was in his mid-20s getting off of his parents' insurance, playing against 18-year-olds for the first time in his career, needs to be elevated to NFL starting quarterback. I just don't see it. Yeah. I really don't. I can make arguments for all the other quarterbacks, even Jalen Milroe, a lot more easily than I can Tyler Shuck. I just don't get it. He is a backup quarterback. He's a fine backup quarterback, but he is a backup quarterback.
I'm with you. I do not buy the hype on this one.
615-737-1045. Peter Schrager's got a mock draft out this morning. The Browns and Giants are reportedly fielding trade calls, and there is one prospect who we might see in the AFC South sooner rather than later because of it. And we'll talk about that next. Hey, it's Will Bowling for my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. Hey, now that March is here and warmer weather is approaching, many of us are going to find ourselves doing more outside activities. That was the case in March. It's the case in April. It's going to be the case in the month of May coming up. Spring, it comes fast, doesn't it? Well, I want to tell you about a revolutionary new product, the Phonak Audio Sphere, which is not only designed to help you hear when there's background noise, but it's also the only completely waterproof hearing aid on the market. Whether you're working up a sweat in the yard or enjoying water activities with children, grandchildren, hey, there's no longer a need to remove those hearing aids. Even around water, you're taking a dip in the pool, you can still participate in those conversations. 615-377-0420. That's where you call Brentwood Hearing Center or check them out online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Find out what sounds you've been missing this spring and summer and get back in the game. Get off the sidelines. Brentwood Hearing Center. Give them a call. They got the best technology on the market to take care of you and your loved ones. 615-377-0420. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. RKW 1045, The Zone continues this morning. 615-737-1045, brewed by Scooters Coffee. ESPN's Peter Schrager writes this morning at ESPN.com that Jaguars general manager James Gladstone will not be timid in his debut draft, and new coach Liam Cohen is an offensive mastermind looking for playmakers. He is saying that Ashton Jeanty is going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Holy smokes.
This is interesting. So Peter Schrager saying Jeanty to the Jags, and that teams are now calling Cleveland and New York about trading up to the number 2 or number 3 overall picks to steal Jeanty ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are you buying that this is accurate, that this is real?
Do I buy? Yeah, I do. You brought it up a second ago. Jeanty, I think, services a lot of NFL teams. Like, I don't think it's because of Saquon with a lot of this stuff. I just think that he's unique for a style of ball that, at the end of the day, he is going to be a bull in a china shop, and I dare you to run up on him. Like, and that, to me, if it's Jacksonville more than anything, offensively, what has been their biggest thing they've been trying to do? Figure out Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, how to help him, too.
How to help him. Like, Travis Etienne was supposed to be the guy. Picked him in the same group as him. He's not the style that Jeanty is. Jeanty, to me, I think changes a lot of what Jacksonville will be able to do, specifically in the running game, as they figure their offensive line out also.
I buy it. I think that this has been a valued prospect throughout the whole process. We're talking about the runner-up in the Heisman, the runner-up in the Heisman, which very well could have won it any other year if it wasn't Travis Hunter. Yeah. But his body of work and just the unique athlete that he is, I think any offense would want somebody like this. And I think with Liam Cohen now being the head coach, an offensive-minded guy who, like you said, you want to do everything you can to help Trevor Lawrence be able to take it to the next level there.
No
and the run game is always a big part of that. And I think teams value Jeanty that much. I buy it.
This is the closest we've ever been to the start of a draft without any teams using first-round picks for a trade since 1967. Is it smart for someone to move up in front of Jacksonville to take Ashton Jeanty?
Is it smart for him to?
I do not think so.
Why? Because of position?
I think because of the position. I do.
Because a running back is not as...
I think he is a star. I also think at the same time, Omarion Hampton could be a star. I also think at the same time, in the right setting, Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins could give you a really high level of production. Now, not at Ashton Jeanty level, but when you talk about giving up a future second-round pick or a future third-round pick, the only way I would do a trade like that is if I am a team that thinks it can compete for a Super Bowl in 2025. If I am a legit competitor, I don't see a team willing to do that to add Ashton Jeanty as that final piece. If I'm Jacksonville, I think taking him at 5 would be bold, but I could at least see a world where that works and see a world where that makes Trevor Lawrence better. But I don't know if I'm trading future draft capital.
But it's what you just said. You just said, but not like Ashton Jeanty. Like, Omarion Hampton, I think, can be good for you. I think he can be very serviceable for you. I don't know if there's anybody to where you say on game day, like, Omarion Hampton versus Ashton Jeanty, to me, says on game day, when we're scouting him, there's one person we got to stop on the ground to stop the entire offense from working. And if you, as a defense, commit yourself to Jeanty, which is, I think, is what a lot of teams are thinking right now in this top 10, I don't necessarily think all of the top 10 teams suck. I just think Jeanty could be a piece away from actually validating a threat on game day more than anybody else.
If he is the last missing piece, then sure. But I don't think for a lot of these teams that are going to be willing to move up close to pick number 2 or 3, Ashton Jeanty is not the missing piece that results in wins and losses to me that makes that big of a difference. Like, because if you're moving up to take Ashton Jeanty, you're probably already in the top 12 picks. Otherwise, you're going to have to use multiple firsts to go get him. I just don't think that's a very smart way to do business.
I get what you're saying behind that, because it's, you still need future drafts. You need those picks, right, to continue to build your teams with some of these that are picking top 5. And just for the last time a back was drafted in the top 5, it was actually Saquon Barkley in 2018 to the Giants.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the other point, though, too. In today's world, when you find those avatars, Derek, Saquon, Who else is in that conversation?
At running back?
Two at running back.
Derrick Henry.
McCaffrey. That's what I was just saying.
Yeah,
Derrick,
right.
Saquon,
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I think you sell out for those tights because at the end of the day, the ground and pound, close out a game style is still very much alive.
For some teams, but if you're bad, you're not in the position to close out of games. That guy's just either on the sideline watching you complete passes with your third round running back, or he's running 5-yard outs because you're down by 20.
I think if the Jacksonville Jaguars select Ashton Jeanty, they become way more scary in the AFC South than any other team to me. Like, I know like what Houston has going on is elite too, but Jeanty to me puts Jacksonville, in my personal opinion, second in the AFC South. It solidifies and stabilizes them more than any other pick in the draft.
Yeah, I don't want to see him twice a year, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And like, not to say that he's going to be that great, but I just think the threat of, oh, gosh, this guy can be good.
Interesting. This also could just be the youngster who looks younger than me, which is saying something. James Gladstone trying to get someone to trade up in front of them to take Jeanty because they want somebody to fall to them at 5. Like, is there a world where Abdul Carter makes it all the way past Mike Vrabel to them at 5? Is there a world where they want Will Campbell and they want New England to have the opportunity to take Abdul Carter? That way they can take the top offensive lineman on their board. A lot that we don't know, but one of two things are true. They either really want Ashton Jeanty to be a Jag, or they want someone else to be a Jag that they think is going before them, that they want someone to trade up for Ashton Jeanty for. That way that player falls to them. I hope that made sense because in my head it barely did. 615-737-1045 is our number. Mike Borgonzi explains what they learned about Cam Ward and meeting with him through the NFL draft process. Coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Secure Lawn. Good people, I'm here to tell you, my guy John came by and cut the yard yesterday. And let me tell you this, man, his stripes are thick. And you know why they're thick, too? It's because he and Secure Lawn have a partnership together to where the Secure Lawn gets all the weeds out and make it thick and have it as green as you possibly need it, man. And they are just some of the best people to have around. The reason I mention my other guys because Secure Lawn doesn't cut and trim your yard or your bushes and shrubs and stuff like that. No, what they do is provide you with a prime service to make sure you have the best looking yard in the neighborhood. And I absolutely mean that, man. Listen, you don't have to worry about any weeds, crabgrass, broadleaf, none of that in your yard. And here's the other cool part about them, too. They've been here in Middle Tennessee servicing residents for over 20 years. They're punctual, have great response time, and not just there. Their kids live in our community, man, and attend our local high schools and state colleges. Whether you have any type of grass, Bermuda, Kentucky blue, doesn't matter whatsoever. They service residential, commercial, and even athletic fields. So go ahead and get a head start on your yard by reaching out to the company I trust. You can call them at 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
Good morning. It's 7:01 from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. It is confirmed the Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock and will stick and pick at number 1 overall in this year's NFL Draft. General Manager Mike Borgonzi spoke to the media yesterday in a pre-draft press conference saying, quote, "We've come to a consensus. The entire organization is to stay at that pick. So I guess you'll find out Thursday night who will pick." To the NBA playoffs last night, round 1, the Indiana Pacers take a 2-0 lead over the Milwaukee Bucks, winning 123-115. The Oklahoma City Thunder roll past the Memphis Grizzlies again, taking a 2-0 lead after winning by 19 points. And the nightcap where the Los Angeles Lakers evened up the series to a 1-game apiece against the Minnesota Timberwolves, winning 94-85. The NHL playoffs round 1 last night. The Carolina Hurricanes beat the New Jersey Devils 3-1, taking a 2-0 series lead in that one. The Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Ottawa Senators 3-2, taking a 2-0 series lead. The Florida Panthers take down the Tampa Bay Lightning 6-2, taking a 1-0 series lead. And the nightcap Minnesota Wild beat the Vegas Golden Knights 5-2. They tie that series up 1-1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2, 7 a.m. in beautiful Music City, USA. This is RKW, brewed by Scooters Coffee. Make sure you download that Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll tell you what we learned yesterday from the pre-draft press conference at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, as Titans head coach Brian Callahan gave a couple of very insightful answers about his future quarterback, Cam Ward, and the process that has yielded a consensus choice within the Titans organization, who told us yesterday they are sticking and picking. Team trade back, the body is not even warm yet. But team trade back was dug back up just so it could be buried a little bit deeper. There is no coming back. They are taking Cam Ward tomorrow night in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yes, they are.
Let's
it is
go.
solidified. I loved that answer. It was like, nope, we will not be taking any offers at this time, but you'll have to wait till Thursday to find out.
Hey, listen, they're all saying the same thing.
Yep.
You know? They are all saying
All
the
in
same thing.
sync.
So, I ain't gonna do that. Never mind.
What?
Nope. I
No.
played that game already.
We got 3 hours
What were you
left.
gonna say?
You're not
I'm
dropping
still-
this at
I'm still
9:45
thinking
on
this
us.
could happen.
No, I'm not.
We've got
Absolutely
time to
not.
discuss. What's on your mind?
I was just thinking, what if they did all that just to pick Abdul Carter?
It'd be pretty funny.
That would be wild.
Because what's for sure in this world? What
No,
is
I mean,
for sure in this
nothing's
world,
for
right?
sure.
The
That's
fact that
right.
this
Yes.
is for sure.
This is
This one's for sure.
But
No,
they
it-
also looked at us dead in our eyes through the digital cameras, okay, and said,
Men lie, women lie, but Cam Ward's going to be a Titan.
they said they don't draft for need, Will. They got 3 quarterbacks already.
They don't draft for need. They want to always take best available, but Cam Ward's going to be a Titan.
But, okay, they should at least just said that then. I mean,
They could have given it, but
Look.
they want a little mystery left.
You sell those jerseys. He's best player in the draft.
there it is then.
Pre-order now at insert link here whenever it goes on.
Right, no doubt. Just like to play that game from time to time.
Mike Borgonzi yesterday talked about meeting Cam Ward, the process of getting to know him, what won him over on the Miami quarterback.
Well, I think we just got to meet the person, right? And got an opportunity to sit down with him multiple times, whether it be the combine, pro day, his private workout, got to meet his family. The competitive edge that he has, you can feel that talking with the kid. He's very intelligent. We've had him on the board several times with Brian. And just, the family. He comes from a great family as well.
Mike Borgonzi yesterday confirming what I think everybody will say about Cam Ward, even the people that are split on his football ability and his ceiling in the NFL. I think even his critics will tell you he's wired a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. The alpha of Cam Ward mentally is certainly something that is not up for debate.
Mm-hmm. And I don't again, I don't know if I missed that. I'm a little tired this morning, but he did say it at one part too. It's not like he's cocky, but he is so confident.
Yeah, that wasn't that quote. That's a different one. But yeah.
So there's a difference too in terms of, how he goes about his business. He is super confident, but he is still somebody who I think can be super relatable to his teammates, right? And eventually to the fan base. I think they'll fall in love with him. He's got to produce. He's got to do what he needs to do here, but I think he could be that star for this team.
Ramon, how many players in your locker rooms, whether in Knoxville or in Pittsburgh, towed that line between cocky and confident? Like, how many players did you know who were confident? And how many players did you know, you don't have to name names. If you want to, you can. Were over that line who were cocky. What's the difference?
Cocky was Marquise Pounds. No, confident. He wasn't overly cocky. He didn't talk about himself. Very confident. Mm-hmm. The one guy, and he lived up to it until it happened, that was cocky, confident, told you, showed you, and you didn't believe him until you saw it, and that was Ryan Shazier.
Oh, wow. I don't think I was going to guess you'd say that.
Ryan Shazier. There's a reason why so many teams were searching for a linebacker like him. This dude would walk into the locker room fully dressed in his ensemble, clothed. Because like, Shay, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning we getting there to work out during the season. Shay, why you fully dressed? It's like, man, because I'm trying to show y'all I'm really about my business. It was kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Right? But you never had to question Ryan Shazier's ability to be confident in himself. And then when he went out to the field, cocky as hell, okay? Nobody came closer. By far one of the best linebacker prospects I've ever seen in my life in full, like in HD.
Wow.
Ryan Shazier.
And liked him as a teammate.
Loved him as a teammate, too, because here's the thing. If you're going to say and be that way, I need to see it.
Yeah,
sure.
If you back up the cockiness on the field, then it'd be as cocky as you want.
So I was listening to, I think it's Josh Pate, yesterday on Buxton's show. Now, Savage did have a good point to this run on 3HL about it. Said when Cam got to Miami, though, too, and he backed it up eventually. But the cussing out and dog cussing people and establishing himself as a guy, like, there's one thing to go in with that big boot, big stick mindset. As long as you back it up, you good to go. It will be fascinating because that is something offensively this team needs. Can he do that here, or will he take a different approach of, let me earn you guys' respect first?
And if you missed that conversation, we're going to play that at 8 o'clock later because Josh told a really good story about Cam, a couple different stories about Cam Ward, both on his show and on Buck's show yesterday. But essentially the gist of it, if you can't hang on till 8, and you're wondering what Ramon's talking about, is within about 48 hours of being at Miami, he was like a general ordering troops around. Like very vocal, very intense to like all American players. Like Francis Mauigoa and Xavier Restrepo at practice and was kind of that alpha leader within about 48 hours of hitting the practice field for the first time at player-led workouts at Miami.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if he'll do that at the NFL from day one because these are not your peers that are the same age as you.
Right.
It is hard to be that guy with how old's Dan Moore? 27, 28? Year old left tackle. Kevin Zeitler, the right guard. Like, are you walking in and ordering around Kevin Zeitler? Probably not. No. I don't think that's in your best interest. But also, like, Cam's got to be Cam. And I think there is an element of the second he walks into that Titans locker room, there's no question who the leader of the football team and the leader of the offense is. And you want him to be that.
And I think that's what they had to be confident in is, can we allow Cam to be Cam? And if this is truly Cam, where he's going to come in and command a locker room regardless of the age, still have respect for some of these guys who have been in the league years, we're confident in him enough to know he can do that well, because that is difficult. Like you do want to be able to be yourself, demand respect, but know that you're one of the younger players in the locker room, but you're also now the quarterback. So there's a fine line there. But again, I think they had to be confident in that part too, in the reason why they drafted him.
Mike Bergonzi and Chad Brinker yesterday spoke a lot about value, a lot about not chasing needs, and about wanting at every pick the best available overall player.
Yeah, and that's part of staying true to the board. I think you're trying to marry up the need with the value too. You never want to force a need in the draft. And for us, we do have a lot of needs, so I think it's important for us to stay true to the board and really take the best available player, at that pick. But for us, like I said, we don't want to force needs here and force a pick. based on that.
I feel the same way. I mean, you want to take the best player available. Everybody says that. Not everybody follows that. The times in my career where I've seen we've made mistakes, either earlier in my career to even some of my mentors, when you kind of reach on a player based off need. Like Mike just said, I mean, we got a lot of needs. So we're just gonna trust the process. We're gonna trust the board. We're gonna let the board talk to us. The work has been done. We're prepared. Now the draft is unpredictable at times, and I know we're picking at the top, so maybe a little bit more of an understanding of who might be there, who might not be there. But at the same time, we're prepared for whatever comes at us, and we just got to take the best player.
Wanting to take the best player. That's Mike Borgonzi, followed by Chad Brinker. All right, if they take a corner, if they take an interior defensive lineman in the second round, if they take a running back where you don't think they're going to take a running back where there's receivers on the board, remember this.
Yeah.
They just want the best player.
Seriously.
In a rebuild.
That's
It
true.
doesn't surprise me. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, having that conversation on cocky and confident, though, made me go back and look at the draft classes that I played with. And I can see how you can end up losing steam with some of the guys you pick, because when they get in the building, you do have to have that mindset of, I believe that I can do some stuff. Like, respectfully, us drafting Artie Burns wasn't a cocky or confident player. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fascinating. Mike Adams is another one of those Ohio State tackles that came in that was super cocky, but not confident in his play. That is a very interesting conversation to have, speaking about how you set your organization up to be good.
Yeah. Again, you'll want to hear what Josh Pate said about that on Buck Rising's show yesterday. We'll do that at 8 o'clock this morning and get back into that discussion. Essentially giving a story to illustrate there's some players that you want them to become leaders just because they're your best players. There are some players who are born that way. I think Cam Ward was born that way. So we'll get back into that conversation coming up at 8 o'clock. Brian Callahan's just a great press conference quote. He'll go on for a while. You'll sit there, but you'll learn a lot. And we learned a lot about how he feels about developing quarterbacks and the unique traits that Cam Ward has coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville, man. Listen to me, man. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are they're good, okay? They're good at their job. And right now they're offering you their big 47 deal, man, where you can get 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. When it comes to your back and knee pain, man, they are in the trenches with you, helping you get better. Y'all know my body took a beating with all the football I play, but you guys have also, man, whether that be lifting up on your job site, having to bend over, get back up your knees. Sometimes, listen, genetically, it just doesn't stick with you for a long time. So get over to the place that I trust, man. They have some of the best equipment around, from the state-of-the-art spinal decompression machines to the zero-gravity machines as well. Listen to me. Go ahead and start that pain-free life, and it is possible by calling the Wellness Institute of Nashville at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Phil Bollinger. Are you looking to keep your home in great shape year-round? Well, if you are, and you should be, sign up for a Lee Company home maintenance plan for $12 a month. Plan members receive 4 service visits a year from the Lee Company team of experts. You're going to get a heating system tune-up, an air conditioning tune-up, electrical inspection, and a detailed plumbing inspection as well. That's 4 annual visits for just $12 a month. For the very best in-home service, you got to call Lee Company at 615-567-1000. Do that today or visit them online at leecompany.com. Just search home maintenance plan to join their membership. If you've lived here in the Middle Tennessee area for a little while, whether that's a week, whether that's a year, you know that we sometimes get all 4 seasons in just 1 week from Mother Nature. So make sure you're ready for that next heat wave here in the area by calling Lee Company at 615-567-1000. 4 annual visits, $12 a month for the home maintenance plan. They're online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. RKW 104.5 The Zone continues here in Hour 2 this morning. 615-737-1045. We are reaching our goal of 15,000 YouTube subscribers before the NFL draft. We're getting closer. The fact that our show was not live streamed yesterday because of technical difficulties didn't help. So let's make up ground.
Man.
Many of you will see you and you're like, oh, I watch you guys on YouTube all the time. And then we'll ask, well, are you subscribed to the channel? I'll do that right now.
Oh, man.
So make sure you do that for us. It helps us quite a bit. We like meeting goals by the end of the week, let's say. I mean, not even have to be when the Titans take the podium.
Sure.
Just by the end of the week. By the time, all the Vols are picked and everybody, Omar Norman Lott and Dylan Sampson become Titans and all these things.
Dante Thornton.
Make sure you subscribe to the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channels and stream the show live on 104.5 The Zone TV. Good press conference yesterday, long one. Half hour over at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park with Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, and Brian Callahan. What stood out yesterday for the pre-draft presser?
That's how they all on the same page for me. Somewhat very thorough in how they broke down what they were looking for as a squad, man. Nothing, and I'll say this too, I do think there's a merry-go-round way of giving you an answer without actually giving the actual answer that they do well right now too. I appreciate their ability to have some questions behind the stuff that they say. Because again, you give a good bit to the media and to us and to the fans, but if you tell everybody your plans exactly, it sets you up for failure. And I think they are somewhat protecting themselves from overstating stuff in that press conference yesterday. I, myself, can admire. We know when they're lying, but it sounds good still. This is the way I looked at it
Exactly. And it is hard to navigate when you know you can't come out and actually say exactly what you're doing, but you're holding a presser right before you actually go and do all of this. And I think what I learned is 100% like they got sold on Cam Ward somewhere in that middle of that process. And again, I think more will come out once we get to actually know for sure it is Cam and it can be official. But when they were asked these questions about Cam several times, and it's just like there was no hesitation ever. Meanwhile, when the one question was asked about, Will Levis and his opportunities, Mike Borgonzi just seemed a little less confident in his answer in that. And I think you kind of just knew at that point, like Will Levis, and again, I'm just guessing on this, is not going to probably be a part of this team in the near future. And I don't know what will happen, if it will be a trade, but I'm pretty confident that they will move on from Will Levis. And then the one other thing I took from this, you guys, is watch out for the running back position in this draft. Watch out for them to draft a running back, maybe even higher than you think, because when Brian Callahan was asked about that, it was not a short answer. He described why they could still use another one in that room that, by the way, currently there are 3.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Justin, if we can, let's actually pivot to that then. Let's go ahead and hear that audio of Brian Callahan talking about needing a third running back yesterday, because there was one part of this I thought was particularly interesting pertaining to one player within the process. This was Callahan yesterday.
Yeah, I think you have to have 3 good backs nowadays. Injury is always a part of it too. It's a violent position. Those guys take a lot of hits. They take a pretty good beating on a week-to-week basis. And so you're trying to stay as fresh as possible for as long as possible. There is guys that can carry the load and do that on their own, and there's some good ones out there. But I think there's also a place for a division of labor and shared workloads, and it keeps guys fresher longer. So, yeah, there's definitely room for 3 backs. You can find all kinds of ways to use those players. I thought both Tony and Tajay had really pretty good seasons from top to bottom. We're looking for more, I think, at the end of the day. But there's a style of runner that you'd love to add, but I think just having another good third back and the special teams role for the third back as well. I thought Julius Chestnut did some nice things in a limited sample size, but we're looking to keep adding competition and keep adding players to that room, and hopefully we can find the 3 best ones come September.
There is a style of runner that you'd love to add.
Yep.
It sounds like to me they want a better version of Julius Chestnut with respect to Julius. They want a more downhill runner, short yardage bruiser. And it makes sense why they've met multiple times with Cam Skattebo, the running back from Arizona State, and where they hosted Caleb Johnson, the Iowa running back, on a pre-draft visit as well. And it also makes sense that they're telling us that they're going to draft based on best available and what the board is giving to them, because this is a very deep and very strong running back class.
It is. And I was shocked, too, a little bit with, you can listen to the undertones of some of the things. You always have to be a little bit aware of the injuries that happen at this position. And more recently with Tajay Spears. And look, I am a huge Tajay Spears fan. But you cannot overlook what happened last year with his inability to stay on the field. And unfortunately, there were a couple concussions. And I know with that position in particular, that was not necessarily this regime's guy. And I know moving forward, there's always an opportunity, or I shouldn't say opportunity. There is a chance that they could want to go in a different direction eventually. Not saying any time in the next year or so, but if they could find that back and they're sold on a guy like that who could be here in the future, you always just want to have enough.
Oh, no doubt about it. And it's also just planning for the future, too. Tajay's, that's what I was going to head to. Tajay's injuries with concussions and just the inability to finish out games, that's one of the things you're going to run to at guys their size, too. And not just him. Tony's a little bit bigger than him, I think, also. But Tony's contract, too, planning to move forward from that.
Right.
After year two, I mean, how much is left to actually be guaranteed for him? And do they want to extend a running back out over the 4 years of that? A 4-year can be a 3-year. Depending upon his production.
Sure.
And that's what I'm fascinated to see. And the other side of, you mentioned Cam Scatterbull. He's not tall, but he's a bruiser. Different style of running back. I was thinking a bigger back with that same mentality. But, again, Cam Scatterbull fits the ability to hit defenders and bounce off of them and continue downfield.
No doubt.
And you got two of the same, respectfully, in the backfield right now.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like they went into this process maybe not sitting down and saying, all right, we want to come out of this draft with a running back. It sounds to me like they went into the process, scouted the positions that are stronger or weaker, and came out of it away saying, hey, these running backs are pretty decent. We could find one that adds something that we don't currently have in a pick that we already have with one of those 2 4s or multiple 5ths. So feels like a very strong possibility that they come out of this draft with a day 3 running back. I thought it was interesting. Brian Callahan asked about unique traits and letting a quarterback be themselves within the NFL draft process. Long answer, but I think a good one from Brian about those traits and how you let a quarterback earn the right to take risks and make big plays.
Tricky question. I think there's definitely the element of, guys have unique traits, and you try your best to not interfere with those. I don't want to do something that's going to take away what makes a player great, what their edge is. There's also a way that you have to play the position a lot, not all the time, but a lot of the time in the NFL that does lead to success. There's an efficiency part of it that matters, but when it's time to put the cape on and go be Superman, you see the guys around the league that all do it, and there's a lot of them that can make those big plays and big moments. And you want the quarterback to feel comfortable when it's time to make those types of plays or take those types of risks or make a tight window throw, that they have the green light and the confidence from us that it's okay to do it. And that's all a part of the development. And there's things that they'll make some bad decisions as a young player, and you got to correct them. And then they're going to make plays that are remarkable, and we're all going to be excited about watching it. I know there's definitely moments for me as you watch quarterbacks around the league, and you just know that the coach is over on the sideline going, like, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, and all of a sudden they make an unbelievable play. And that's what makes the players in this league, and you don't want to take that away from them. But there's a balance between teaching the situation in a moment and when is probably the right time for it, and when maybe we can throw the ball away or check the ball down. So it's a balance, certainly, and guys earn the right to do that and earn the trust to do that when they make those decisions and make the plays when those things matter. To me, it's over time you earn the right to do that. And sometimes it's terrifying as a coach, and that's more of a me problem than it is a them problem. So there is a balance, though, and there's a line that which you got to be mindful of, but you certainly don't want to take what's special about a player away from them.
So that's Brian Callahan yesterday speaking to the media. It sounds to me like Brian is going to try to walk a tightrope that he fell off of with Will Levis, with Cam Ward.
It's my first thought. I'll say this with respect to the pro that Will Levis was trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think the stuff that he did last year was to try to find that.
Was to try to be this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think his
100%.
intent was 100% pure to say this team needs, and he need the cape on them. This team needs a Superman. And they did. Will Levis possessed the attributes and tools and athleticism to put a ball in a tight window. I'll even go a guy before him. I think in that 2021 Cincinnati game, I think Ryan Tannehill's intent was to deliver passes to guys in tight windows. Some got tipped and intercepted. Like, that is a part of the job. But how you outweigh your bad moments with a whole lot more good moments. Because here's the things. Shooters get shot, right? We're speaking about Joey Aguilar right now going to UT. Like, his interception rate is because he always think you can make a play.
Slinging it.
Yeah, here's what I will say about that, though. You live and die with those guys when there's more positivity, though. And having the support to actually deliver in other positions, i.e. going to get a tougher running back, right? Or more bruising running back is a part of this recipe, too. And the other side, to me, I firmly believe this. Some guys just have that, though. Like, I think Brett Favre had that. I look at Patrick Mahomes, have that gene. I'm looking right now, C.J. Stroud has that gene. Heck, in year one, right? Jaden Daniels has that. Right?
Will Levis never had it.
He never. There we go.
Yeah,
Cam Ward does.
That was my point. Plain and simple, two things. Will Levis needed to rewire his brain when he was the starter quarterback. Like, no one wanted to hear at the beginning of the season that he needed to rewire his brain. Meanwhile, you've got a guy coming in who everyone you've talked to, whether it be players or coaches, he's just wired different. Those are the two, like, it's a weird thing to say, but it makes sense in this situation. And after hearing Brian Callahan say those things and, you know, knowing what line to toe, I just think there was so much they tried to fix with Will, but in the end, it just couldn't be fixed because sometimes up here, it wouldn't translate.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cam Ward went to Miami to rewire his brain. And in a lot of ways, he did. And I think he's going to have to do the same again at the NFL level, though too. It's interesting, Brian, talking about you have to earn the right to make plays like that. How will Cam Ward earn the right to be Superman? Well, what's that process look like? Like, is this, hey, let's finish pre-algebra before we get to calculus? Like, that I think is going to be something I want to watch at training camp is how does Cam Ward master the basics quickly enough where Brian Callahan will let him run around and scramble and chuck it deep? Because a lot of the scouting you read on Cam is that he rushes some of his progressions sometimes because he is so eager to make the big play. And you can do that when your receivers at Miami are faster than everyone and your linemen are bigger than everyone. That's harder to do when you have a talent deficit as a Titan versus the talent advantage you had as a Hurricane.
How does he earn that? It starts in training camp. It starts with the smallest, dumbest, silliest, just cultural thing, showing up early, hitting in the weight room. The nobody's in the building, but the blue light is on in the film room. From there, it's the practice side of things. Are you out there early? Are you trying to get extra reps? And not just that, too. It's the overall ability to make guys better in practice, and that does play a part in it, too. Like, I've seen guys, like, take somebody's spot in practice, but you got to hold on to it and deliver it every single day. Cam Ward can't force it, but he also has to be firmly in the driver's seat on how he goes about practice day in and day out. I think establishing himself is just being different, not in the sense of, oh, I'm more rah-rah or, hey, I'm your savior, but quietly work as a rookie is going to be one of the biggest things he can do. Nobody needs to hear him say anything. You just got to see it happen. Yeah. And that, I've seen guys lose jobs just watching guys do work like that.
Yeah, you have to earn the respect, absolutely. I mean, we can say all we want about how Cam Ward was, before this. And again, a story I heard from back Washington State, he was the first guy at that stadium every single day. for practice, the field, I should say. And I mean, first one in the door, last one out, like no doubts about that. But you need to now do that here. And you need to be able to take criticism from your coaches, when it's valid. And here's the big thing. There are a lot of things with Cam Ward. And again, like when he does take off and scramble, even the placement of the football and being able to protect that, like he's got to take all those things seriously now. When you're in the film room and you're evaluating that, like you have to fix those things.
Yeah.
So I think the ability or the willingness to do that too, like you're not coming in here perfect, right? Like you're going to have to take criticism, which I think he probably does well, but now it's at another level.
Jason up next to the phone, 615-737-1045. Hey, Jason.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, I just wanted to say for the draft this time, because the previous drafts haven't been that great, man. Do not draft anybody with the name Will in there. No Malik Willis, no Will Levis. We already have a Ramon Kayla and Will, so let's keep that Will here.
That's good.
Getting creative, Jason, this morning. Look at that.
Jason.
I appreciate that.
Well, we hope they will do the right thing then.
No Will Shepard in this draft?
Yeah.
Wide receiver out of Vandy?
Colorado.
Or Colorado, sorry.
Yeah.
I was already thinking back to the Vandy days.
No Wills are allowed.
Are there any
around
other
here.
Wills that they would draft?
Will Howard.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, Howard already hurt me once.
The quarterback.
He did.
They could double up on quarterback like the Washington Commanders with RG3 and Kirk Cousins.
I mean, that process has worked out good.
Another
for some
air raid
teams at
quarterback,
some point. It will
RG3.
be.
Cam Ward, air raid quarterback. I'm just
For real.
How about Willie Lampkin?
Willie Lampkin?
I think
as,
Robert Walsh would buy a jersey if Willie Lampkin was
would.
You
drafted
might
here.
get a text from Rob right now. I said Rob. He's not
I was
Rob.
like,
Yeah, when
damn,
has he ever been Rob Walsh?
He's got a new name here.
Oh, that did sound nasty, didn't it? Rob Walsh. It's not okay.
It's his government name.
That was great.
For real, man.
That was
Rob
great.
Walsh. Who is that guy?
615-737-1045 is our number. If you want to join us or stream the show live, 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. The Titans have brought in a lot of defensive linemen for top 30 visits. Mike Borgonzi was asked why yesterday, and we'll tell you what he said. Coming up next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
RKW is proved by Scooters Coffee at 104.5 The Zone. Wrapping up hour number 2. Jason just called us before the break and said, no one with Will in their name. The way that Malik Willis and Will Levis have gone for tomorrow's NFL draft, I guess that means no Kyle Williams.
Yeah, that's what someone
wide receiver
in this
for
chat said.
Cam Ward.
Somebody said
In the chat, and I said, oh no, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You agreed to it. No take backs.
No takesy backsies.
Oh,
Gotta move on.
come on now.
There are other receivers in the sea.
Come on.
What a see.
Hey,
Who
it's
else
not
we
my
got in there?
decision. It's Borgonzi and Company's.
Very true. And who was that just called in? It was
Jason.
Jason. I was about to call him Josh.
Jason, maybe he needs to be in the war room.
Jason, he should. Listen, the war room is a dicey place to be at, okay? I don't know if
It'd be
many
great
people
to
want
be
to
a
make
fly
those
on the wall.
decisions. Your job is on those decisions.
Infinite Bank chat open. You can chat with our great community of RKW listeners on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel, where we have Dallas saying Will Levis is a Tamu Tim Tebow. Wow. So that's a take. I love
Y'all
that.
so fire.
Because somebody said that Will Levis should be moved to tight end.
Oh,
So-
boy.
Will
You never know.
Levis,
You can join the discourse on the Infinite Bank
would-
chat on YouTube.
I will move Will Levis to defense before I
Yep.
move him to
Linebacker.
tight end.
Can't turn the ball over
Yeah.
on
Putting him-
defense.
I'm just-
Yep.
Get the heck out of
He
here.
knows what it's
That's
like to be
a
sacked.
great
Maybe he
point.
can do the sacking now.
Get out of here.
We might have just did something.
We could have.
Edge
We might
rusher
add a
from
linebacker.
Kentucky, Will Levis.
What
I don't
is
know.
wrong with you,
We had
man?
people a couple years ago wanting to move Caleb Farley to wide receiver. Crazier
This
things
is
have been
true.
suggested.
That's very true.
Anyway.
This is very true, Will.
So
I mean,
Mike
Jim
Bergonzi-
plays fullback
Yeah.
Not
That's-
full time, but
He did.
just for a couple plays.
just for a couple plays.
Yeah. Sam Hubbard was a tight end against the Titans last year for the Bengals. Caught a touchdown
Why you
pass.
gotta go to the hurt.
It's not just a Titan thing.
The
you
hurting
gotta
thing.
go to the hurt part of the discussion.
It's real. It's real. It's what
in
it
the
is.
trenches like you will.
Mike Bergonzi was asked yesterday, why'd you bring in so many defensive linemen for top 30 visits? I mean, you want to pick one? He had this to say.
Well, I think we need to add depth across the whole entire roster. It just happened to be that position group that we brought some players in that maybe we had some more questions on as we went through the process, but it certainly wasn't we were targeting a certain position. It was just identifying players on the board that we needed to spend more time with, really.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I like the way he talks in press conferences. He does not talk in circles after he says his point. Like
Yeah.
Bergonzi will tell you the answer, and then, all right, what else you got for me? Let's go.
He's a
Bada
pretty
bing, bada boom.
straight shooter, too. That's
Yeah,
how,
very much so.
East Coast mentality, you can tell. He's not going to give anything away, per se, but he's going to shoot it to you straight.
It is interesting, and we'll see if their actions in the draft back up what they're saying on the record before the draft about, hey, we're not just targeting a position. They're just guys we wanted to see. Rhett Bryan's been saying that for weeks on this show. Like, sometimes that is all that a top 30 visit is, hey, we got another question based on what the film says that doesn't totally answer what we need to know about X, Y, or Z player. It is not always a one-size-fits-all. Oh, we got 60 linemen coming in, so we want a D lineman. It's just, maybe these guys we have more questions than answers about, so let's talk to them in person.
That's a fair point, though, considering the picks that they have. Specifically,
It is.
I mean, first and second round, if you are bringing in this many D tackles, one, you got to make sure they're worth the squeeze. Let's go with TJ Sanders, right? A guy out of South Carolina I've been mentioning here and there. You want to see if he mentally, as a football player, fit what you want to do if you're going to spend that value on it. And then also the other part of, if they don't trade back to get a third-round pick or whatever the case may be, if I'm going and trying to find value at that position, because as much as we speak about the offense, something does have to be done for the defense. Imagine if you Denard Wilson and you just look around, bro, y'all not helping me. He can legitimately say that even though there's been some help in free agency. Who is going to continue on his style and culture defensively? So I think it's very important that if you are trying to find a value fourth-round D tackle, it is necessary to see what makes them tick.
Mm-hmm. And part of this, too, and we've had this conversation this week and a little last week about, look, that does intrigue some minds too. Well, they brought in all these D linemen. Could they possibly trade a guy like Jeffrey Simmons? And later on in the press conference, that question was asked, not specifically about Jeffrey Simmons, but Paul Kaharski did ask if they would need to receive multiple picks in exchange for trading a veteran. And he was pretty short on that in terms of Borgonzi's response.
Yeah, it was a non-answer.
Yeah, he pretty much was just like, we haven't thought about that, kind of shut that down.
Yeah, that's a direct question that you're giving away. as a former GM would say, G4 classified secrets if you really answer it truthfully. So it's not in their best interest to give you a real answer, but I do respect the question. Because it does bring up a point, right? That if you trade Jeffrey Simmons or you trade, a starter and you only get one pick back, well, you're just using that pick to replace the starter that you just lost.
Mm-hmm.
Not build.
Like I would rather get 1 round later and another day 3 pick versus getting just 1 premium pick if I'm trading Jeffrey Simmons. I think it's a great point. Great point.
Yeah, it is. That's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out, though, if it does.
I'd be very surprised if they traded Jeffrey Simmons.
I will be too, but
very surprised.
We'll see.
Juan is up next. 615-737-1045. What's up, Juan?
What up, Juan?
Hey, guys, how y'all doing this morning?
Great.
We're
Good
good.
morning.
I want to know if Cam Ward, with all the hoopla that's going on around him, is he going to be the talk of the NFL, not just from the Titan fan base, but is he going to be the talk of the NFL overall? Is a lot of pressure going to be on him basically to perform? Otherwise, can he be kind of shunned or whatever if he does not perform well early?
Thank you, Juan. I think he'll be talk of the NFL, yeah. You pick a quarterback number 1 overall, that comes with a lot of eyeballs and attention.
Yeah. And I kind of get what he's saying, too, on that. And maybe I take it in a little different direction. I feel like if this was a major, major market, there would be a lot more criticism out of the gates if he doesn't, perform right away. I think if Cam Ward, has some things that he needs to grow on, here it's going to be criticized because we are, the Titans coverage. But I think nationally it might not be as crazy as it could be if he were drafted to a New York, even a Cleveland type of situation. But, yeah, I think it will get coverage throughout the season.
Also depends on where Shador Sanders goes, to be honest, as well.
That's a good point.
If Shador Sanders is starting in 2025, he will get more attention than Cam Ward because he's Shador Sanders.
Very true.
Just also the question, I already think I wanted to make a hard comparison to him. I don't think it's that deep, though. But I almost feel like the skepticism about the pick is because of the team, and also can Cam continue his continuation to extend up to his ascension into being a better player and making teams around him better, too. I was going to mention, Jamarcus Russell level of, question, but Jamarcus had off-the-field stuff that you say, okay, you got the talent for it, and you saw it, but how will it translate over? I view Cam's situation as similar. Not the same, but similar. He's going to have to overprove because of the team, the market, and the situation he's been put in. And if you're right, Will, if Shador goes somewhere, then you have a direct comparison, too, at that point. He's the only first-round quarterback. I think the conversation dies a little bit more, and they'll let Cam be his own guy. But if there is any other first-round quarterback, the comparison is there. We saw it last year.
It was very interesting. I think it was DraftKings last night had odds on where Shador Sanders will be picked, and it was even odds for him to go in the 2nd round.
Wow.
I mean, I think there is a Will Levis kind of fall happening pre-draft right now for Shador Sanders.
On the opposite side of that, though, I saw Coach Tomlin and Omar Khan drum up a lot of dust around Shador Sanders at 21 yesterday, too.
Yeah.
At least on my algorithm.
I think that's happening.
Yeah.
It seems to be
I think that's happening.
The right move.
Yeah. Coach Tomlin gave a long answer about Shador, but Mike T's always been one of those guys that will smoke and mirrors.
Sure.
He did it with Malik Willis 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Shador Sanders to be drafted 15th overall or later is minus 310 at FanDuel Sportsbook right now.
Minus 310?
Means that's happening. Means he's going 15th or later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think New Orleans is out. Team to draft Shador Sanders. Pittsburgh is plus 175. The Giants are plus 350. The Browns are plus 360. Saints plus 440. And then you get over plus 1,000 after that with the Rams and Raiders. So we'll see. I think he might be a Steeler. I think you might avoid your Aaron Rodgers debacle after all, but maybe not. Maybe they do both.
Yeah, maybe they do both.
Who's to say? Boy, that would be an interesting, interesting thing to follow on a Hard Knocks.
Right? Between
Mike
that
Tomlin
and the
will
Giants
love the extra attention coming his way. Coming up, second half of the show, I value when college football people talk about NFL draft prospects because college football people have watched these guys play a lot of college football. Josh Pate at 247 Sports, Josh Pate's college football show. He was on the Buck Rising show yesterday and told a great Cam Ward story that you'll want to hear coming up next.
Good morning. It's 8 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Yesterday, the news, it is confirmed the Titans are on the clock and they will stick and pick at number 1 overall in this year's 2025 NFL Draft. General Manager Mike Borgonzi spoke to the media yesterday in a pre-draft press conference saying, quote, "We've come to a consensus. The entire organization is to stay at that pick. I guess you'll find out Thursday night who will pick." Obviously, the draft is tomorrow, and the Titans hold the number 1 overall pick. You can hear Titans radio's coverage starting at 6. And the Tennessee Vols in baseball beat Lipscomb yesterday 11-1 in 7 innings. Andrew Fisher, Hunter Inslee, Cannon Peebles, and Levi Clark all homered. Austin Breedlove got the start on the mound, throwing 3 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, and allowed 2 hits. Tennessee next travels to LSU for a weekend series. It's a 6-7 matchup. Number 9, ranked Vanderbilt Commodores lost to Middle Tennessee State yesterday, 5-3. Keaton Ray, who was hitless through 8 innings, hit the go-ahead RBI to give the Blue Raiders the win. Vanderbilt now will travel to Ole Miss for a weekend series on Friday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW's second half of the show starts right now on 104.5 The Zone, the 104.5 The Zone app, and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. The subscriber number getting ever closer to 15,000 on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. Look, it's free to you. It takes about 5 seconds, and it helps you out because you get more 104.5 The Zone content in your life. It's about as fast as when you scoot on down and get some Scooter's Coffee. Proud title sponsor of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. You got locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. And make sure you download that Scooter's Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network joins us coming up in 20 minutes. Rhett Bryan scouts quarterbacks at 9 o'clock. He'll probably tell me I am way too harsh on Tyler Shuck, which is fair. And we will get the preview of Titans Radio's draft coverage tomorrow.
Go.
Should be fun.
Should be good.
Including one Ramon Foster, who will be on the air late
night
tomorrow night, and then back up with us early tomorrow, Friday morning to talk about Cam Ward.
That's the job, baby. Jay Hawk with the drop right there, man. Yeah. That's the job, man. I'm looking forward to it. Such a professional group to do that with, and not just that. The Titans throw a great party in there also.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, Nissan Stadium. So I get an opportunity to see this new stadium up close, too. I've seen it from the highway.
Can we take a picture?
You can, see if I can, but you can see that it goes down. I heard it goes underground.
Yeah.
You can see it goes deep into the ground, though.
It's cool how they do that, though, because it's not going to obstruct a ton.
Yeah.
Because it is more, underneath.
Looks like a record player on top.
Yeah.
It does.
Makes sense.
Josh Pate was on the Buck Rising show yesterday. If you missed that, you can check it out wherever you download podcasts. Great stuff on Tennessee, Nico, UCLA, Joey Aguilar, and all of that stuff. But Buck asked him as well about Cam Ward. And Mario Cristobal and Josh are close. They have a good relationship. Josh prefaces this story with the fact that he gets to go down and watch a lot of closed stuff that happens at Miami, stuff that regular media down there does not see. Mario Cristobal runs his practices like a lot of countries run their nuclear factories. It is lock and key down there. So Josh had very interesting insight on Cam Ward. Again, there's a lot here. It's a long answer, but it's a really good story about who is going to become the Titans quarterback tomorrow.
I'm in there one of the first days Cam Ward's on campus. So I don't know how to describe this. If you've ever played organized sports, you'll know what I'm talking about. There are guys that you want to be leaders because they're the most talented on your team, but for whatever reason, intrinsically, they don't have that. So they lead by example. They play good, but they never, grab the roster by the throat. And they've been there for and they've been there for a while. Okay? Then you have other guys who, you ever seen the movie Moneyball? Oh, sure. Yeah, and you know when the scouts are sitting around and they're talking about a guy and they describe him and they say he's the kind of guy where when he walks in, his blank has already been there for 5 minutes. Well, that's Cam Ward when he walks in. Okay, so I'm down there. He's been on campus, I want to say 48 hours at the point I'm down there. And I'm watching him coach his team. It's player-led workouts. Coaches aren't even out there because he wasn't in spring. He wasn't there for spring. So he is, I don't know how to describe this other than to say if you were watching a general command troops, that's what it was like watching him. It was like watching a big brother and a bunch of little brothers, and the way that you would talk to a family member who is the little version of you, that's how but he's talking to linemen like that. He's talking to everyone on the team like that. And I'm looking at it and I'm just talking with a couple of guys administratively, and I'm saying, what is happening? And they said, that's just what he was like the moment he walked in. And so I sat there, I watched the whole workout, and you would have thought the guy was a fourth-year starter and knew everyone, because there's a way that you have to earn the right to talk to somebody. Like you and I can joke around in a way that if a production assistant's walking down the hall, he would never be able to talk to you. Well, it was that times 100 with Cam Ward. And so he's like Xavier Restrepo, All-American receiver. He's been there for him for a long time. Not only is he getting dog cussed by Cam Ward, it's almost a yes, sir, no, sir response to him. And he's been there for 48 hours. So I just watched that in awe. Because the thing about it is he has not produced for them yet. He hadn't played a down for him yet. And he just walks in with that kind of swagger. And not only did he do it, I've seen people do that and try and fake it. Because I've seen the guys that they want to be leaders and they try and be vocal leaders, and it's so fake. You can see through that in 2 seconds.
Buddy, I've covered plenty of them.
Yes. Pro level, college. And I don't care if it's Pee-wee. There are guys whose dads just drive them to practice and say, you need to be more vocal today. You need to be a vocal leader. Well, if you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. And it's like seeing through cellophane wrap if a guy tries to be that. And then you got guys like this who are just born to be that.
So that's Josh Pate of Josh Pate's college football show. Great show on YouTube, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I'm a diehard fan. I think he's great of that show. I'm fascinated to see how that works with grown men. Mm-hmm. I really am. Because Cam Ward is Cam Ward. He is an alpha. He does not care. But he's no longer going to be talking like that to guys who are younger than him or his age. Like, what is that dynamic like from day one when he becomes a Tennessee Titan? I think is a really interesting story to follow.
Well, and he had already, at that point been a long way on his journey. And I know that he had still needed to prove himself at a bigger school. But don't forget, he actually was going to enter the NFL draft coming out of Washington State and contemplated that and decided to go to Miami instead. So he had a little backing going into Miami and being able to be confident in who he was still, even though that was a bigger stage. It is different at the NFL level. You are now on a grand stage, and it's almost like you reset a little bit because you've got to prove yourself now at the NFL level. Like you do it in college, but now we know quarterbacks, they're not just an automatic hit in the NFL. And he knows that in the back of his mind. He knows like some quarterbacks hit, some don't. So how do you go in here and how is he going to run his business? I don't want him to change in terms of who he is. Like that confidence has got to be there. And I think that's why they feel comfortable drafting this guy, that he's not going to change who he is. But there has to be some sort of way that you navigate it when you first step in the door, because you are with so many veterans that have done this for such a long time.
We've already seen this scenario play out this year. We're just not remembering it right now, and it made me think about it. It came from another Cam. He said it in hindsight, not going into his situation. It came from Cam Newton back in February. Mm-hmm. You remember when he said on Travis Hunter's podcast, he said, I went to a point about dog cussing folks. This is Cam Newton's mindset, though. And again, Cam didn't say this until he retired. But Cam Newton said, I went into a locker room of losers, just honest. Guys didn't know how to win. Guys didn't know how to prepare. They didn't take themselves serious to realize we were 2-14. There was a lot of 2-14 in the mentality of those guys. Awesome to say and to understand that, too, is the Tennessee Titans are 3-14, right? So what I'm getting at is this. There's a guy that would have bucked back at him. I think there's a player on this team, few that'll buck back at Cam Ward if he said that or came in cussing folks out. But Steve Smith said this, though, about that. 53-man locker room -1. Ooh, the Eagles 52 losers. Wow, breaking news to 89 is what he said. That's why
Steve Smith responding to Cam Newton.
Response to that, yes.
Former teammate of Cam's.
And here's also what Cam said. There's an acknowledgement that the Titans need a jolt of, life? Basically,
energy,
a little bit.
energy, talent,
leadership
all
too.
of it.
Honestly,
leadership.
a little bit dog, too.
A little bit of all of that. But here's where I think Cam Newton's mindset was about what he was needed to do in Carolina as a quarterback. And the conversation was because Cam was telling Travis Hunter, Travis, I don't think you can impact the team the way a quarterback does, which is where the pressure for Cam Ward comes into play. He said this about the locker room. I'm not specifically talking about those guys. I'm talking about the culture that was there prior to me coming into the locker room, and it was a loser's mentality. At 3-14 for the Titans, they don't have loser's mentality. The culture is a lot of losing, though. Mm-hmm. So stepping that line very cautiously for Cameron Ward, is going to be necessary because it might be somebody to decide to punch him in the mouth in the NFL for saying that.
What was it like when you were at Tennessee, Ramon, and you had a quarterback competition going on between Eric Ainge and Brent Schaefer, and you imagine, I imagine have guys who are aligned to different players, aligned to their guys, aligned to their buddies, their roommates, their suite mates and Gibbs and things like that. When Eric took over and won over the locker room, like what is that like when a quarterback walks in and tries to win over the locker room as he becomes the starting quarterback?
Ainge had to overdo it because everybody naturally sided with Brent Schaefer because Schaefer had the dynamic playmaker ability about himself.
He was the athlete, right?
He was the athlete, and you want to see that on your field. So guys naturally went to Schaefer first, all guys, okay? Ainge was in a position where he had to prove to us through his play, like through his throws, through his mental side of things. And over the course of that year and some change, he showed more consistent than Schaefer ever could at that position.
Right.
And what happened was this. Oh, we like Schaefer. We love you. And then you start to see, no, but we got a better future with this guy. The locker room naturally gravitates to winners. It just simple. It does. Ain't no other way. The guy can be the biggest jerk in the city. But if he can win, nothing else matters to you or the locker room.
How quickly was he cussing you guys out at practice?
About a year after starting or so. Yeah. It didn't come early.
Not within 48 hours.
Right.
Cam Ward is wired differently. Wired differently. It's not a bad thing, but he is wired differently.
And look, there are still veterans in this locker room, i.e. Jeffrey Simmons, who I'm going to say right now, I know Will Levis did not win here. There's still guys who really like Will Levis and they say they're guys. Like, honestly.
I think publicly they'll say that. I don't know if behind closed doors, though. I don't know if there's a lot of loyalty to Will Levis in that room.
You've got to, if you're Cam Ward, you do have to understand what you're walking into still.
Respect.
And you do.
To your point, rookies have to be seen, not heard. It's got to be his biggest piece of advice that he gets.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to be able to totally be that loud version of himself from day one. He probably knows that. He's probably got, he's got a good camp around him. Mm-hmm. He's got people that are grounded around him that'll probably tell him that too.
I would feel better about him being able to incorporate himself into the locker room if he didn't have Zeitler, if he didn't have Dan Moore, if he didn't have Tony Pollard. And you know what I'm saying? If he didn't have Calvin and those guys around, he could probably walk in and say, you guys suck. You need me.
Right.
This is David Ruffin and the Temptations. This is Cameron Ward and the Titans. He can't do that.
It's like you always talk about. You want the big men to set the tone for the whole team. And the Titans finally have some veteran big men who can set the tone for that entire offense.
That's how.
Yeah. And
if
maybe
he
that's
get
part of
them
the plan.
bigs on his side, everybody else shuts the hell up.
NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah will talk NFL draft with us coming up next.
You've been hearing about it. The jewelry buying event everyone waits for is here. It is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and this Genesis Diamond's biggest event of the year. 3 days only, though, man. Unbelievable store-wide savings and up to 35% off some items. And the selection is like double the norm, too, with top bridal designers coming in showcasing all new collections, beautiful one-of-a-kind pieces, including all new engagement ring mountings, too. It's more jewelry than you've ever seen in one place at prices you've never thought possible. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, stunning fashion jewelry that you won't find anywhere else. Check out thousands of engagement ring settings in gold and platinum also. Get special pricing on natural as well as lab-grown diamonds. This is the event where the Genesis staff know they can break all the rules. And if you have any special event this spring, whether it be engagements, anniversaries, birthdays, new baby, whatever, this is a spectacular event to get that amazing gift at a huge discount. Store-wide savings up to 35%. Special financing too. There's only one catch. It's 3 days only. So get there this weekend. It's Friday through Sunday at Genesis Diamonds. They're located in Green Hills and Cold Springs.
Living in Nashville is the best, and while there's a lot going on here, it's a growing city. You want to trust the people that you're working with, including a real estate agent, and that's why you need to check out my friend Bernie Gallerani. Look, Bernie Gallerani has years of experience. He is going to know the neighborhood and care about your buying or selling needs. In fact, Bernie guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he's just going to buy it from you. Finding the right home, that takes time. We know that if you've been through the process. And for Charisse, that meant 6 months of searching for the perfect place. That's why Bernie Gallerani Real Estate made all the difference. From day one, the team was patient, answered every question, making the entire process smooth and stress-free. So when Charisse was ready, she found her perfect home. Bernie is the only real estate agent in Nashville recommended by Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank. And you can give him a call today on his cell phone at 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644. Or simply go to BernieGallerani.com.
RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today. Order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Alongside Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I am Will Bowling. We are pleased to be joined by NFL Network analyst Daniel Jeremiah, who you can see throughout NFL Network's coverage of the NFL Draft in Green Bay starting tomorrow. Daniel, we appreciate the time. I know probably a very busy schedule leading up to the draft tomorrow. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I absolutely love this event. So it's fun to be here in Green Bay. There's already people starting to flood into town. So it's a great place to have this.
I love it. Well, I know you are revealing your final mock draft of the year tonight at 7 o'clock Central on NFL Network. There's also not really a lot of speculation on who the Titans are going to take at this point, Daniel, with Cam Ward slated to go number 1. As this process has gone on, why has he risen above everyone else? And specifically at that quarterback position, what makes him the unquestioned QB1 in this class?
Yeah, I just think you're looking at what he is right now, and then to me it's where there is to go. I mean, he's just got a lot of ability. He's got a lot of talent. There's some rough edges to clean up. There's nobody that comes into this process without that. But I think the distance between him and everybody else in terms of, I think he's the best right now. And I think there's just so much upside with him. It's two different things, right? Normally you have the quarterback who arrives, he's ready-made, but this other guy has more upside. We'll see if he catches him and passes him. In this draft and in this scenario, Cam Ward has both the highest floor and the highest ceiling.
We talked a lot early in this process, Daniel, about how maybe Shador Sanders is more a fit for systems that Brian Callahan has been involved with in the past, and maybe a closer comp to Joe Burrow and in that time he spent in Cincinnati with Zach Taylor. How do you see Brian adjusting what he does and what the Titans offense does to fit Cam Ward's strengths?
I think he can play on time. You know, he has the ability to extend plays and get a little bit loose at times. But there's long stretches where you can see him, get the back foot in the ground, see it, get the ball out where it goes. I think in some cases it's not that he can't do what Shador does. I would say it's probably Shador can't do what he does in terms of the extending plays and making some things happen a little bit more athletic and a little more urgent in everything he does. So I think it'll be fine with how they fit. I would imagine that he'll incorporate a little bit more movement in the play calls to just kind of take advantage of his skill set. But I think Cam Ward's fully capable of playing on time in the pocket.
Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network joining us this morning on RKW as we're just a day away from the NFL Draft in Green Bay. Daniel, when it comes to that second round, the Titans have the 35th overall pick right now in that second round. There's a lot of debate on, do you go and get Cam Ward, a young wide receiver, or do you fix another need in this Titans, big boat of needs, which is probably an edge of sort. If you are drafting and you see what they're trying to do you go get that young wide receiver for Cam?
Well, I'm going to give you a question off of a question.
Yeah.
If next year at this time, I told you that you got that defensive end and it ended up winning you one more game and your defense moved up 15 spots in the rankings, but the quarterback didn't take the next step, would you rather have that, or maybe you lose one more game? Maybe the defense still stinks, but you come into this time next year and go, holy crud, we've got the quarterback playing great, and we've got a young receiver to go along with him. To me, it's all about the quarterback. It's all about the quarterback. You want next year at this time, you want to have the feeling that Washington has, that Denver has. Coming into this, going like, oh, we got that taken care of, and now we can go on to addressing everything else.
What's interesting, too, is what wide receiver will be there, because I know that we've talked a lot about Emeka Egbuka possibly still being there or Luther Burden, but we don't have a crystal ball. We can't see that. What do you realistically see that the Titans could go and get that would be worth it at that spot?
Yeah, I think there's a couple options. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams at the bottom of the first round doing their homework on Luther Burden. I would say of that group of top tier guys, he's the one that's most likely to be there, which would be a fun weapon to play with, especially what he does after the catch. So that I think there's a possibility that he could be there in that mix. In fact, he's my 35th player as I was just looking it up, and the Titans are picking 35, so that would be a perfect match there. But he's not alone in being worthy of that pick. The two kids from Iowa State are both really good, Jade Higgins and Jalen Knoll. I have them in the 40s and right at 50. So that's not without reason there. And, maybe the Tennessee Titans, if some of these teams want to come up for these quarterbacks, if the quarterbacks all fall out of the first round, then maybe they could trade back a little bit. And that's where you could find some more value there with one of those other wideouts.
NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah is with us this morning. When you look at Cam Ward, right, going into this situation with the Titans, drafting number 1 overall means you probably got a bad team. And the roster's got a lot of needs on them. Mike Wergunz and Chad Brinker said that yesterday, right, and Brian Callahan. If that's the case, you mentioned if you get past year 1 and you say, whew, we got the quarterback taken care of, what does he need here in Nashville, or what will Cameron Ward need as it pertains, or what would you need to see to say, yes, that's a hit? Because I think year 1 for Bryce Young in Carolina, I think they were ready to, move away. How do you see that being the case for quarterbacks coming into the league now?
Yeah, and I was at the game where Bryce Young got hooked against the Chargers, and then he got a little break and then came back and then ended up playing well, and so that hopefully has a happy ending to that story. But to me, with rookie quarterbacks and young quarterbacks, the way I've always looked at it is I want to see guys who are just getting better. Like if you're getting better, that's the first thing. The second thing is, like, I'm not going to see it in long stretches as a young player. Jaden Daniels, that's rare. But can just show me the flashes. Like, I need to see some of those flashes. Like, oh, okay, if we can just get more of this, like, that's the good stuff. I think with Bryce Young, what the concern was, A, he was not getting better, and B, like, there weren't those high moments where, it was just kind of like, oh, gosh, is this guy good enough? Like, I haven't seen any of those flashes. Like, Caleb Williams had a little bit of a roller coaster last year, but you saw his moments, and you're like, okay, I get it. Like, this guy's got all the ability in the world. We just got to kind of get there. And then Bryce Young, once he sat down, he came back. I don't know, how that helped him or aided him, but he came back, looked like a different guy. He was more calm. He was more comfortable. And then you started to see some of those flashes. So that's what I'm looking for, improvement, and give me glimpses of what this can look like.
So I know we don't take, front office guys or GMs at their word all the time, especially at the podium, right? We know when they're lying, or we perceive when they're lying, or just trying to give us a quick answer. One of those was Will Levis is still under this roster, is young and developing. And I'm of the mindset, and I've heard a lot of people say this too, you measure a guy by his third year. Will Levis is about to go into his third year. Do you actually think there's a future for a guy like him in Nashville to where he may start the season off in a position to compete, or is this a get him out the room type of situation here if Cam Ward is drafted to the Tennessee Titans?
I don't know Will well enough to give you the great answer on that. I would just say if they were comfortable with, Will as a teammate, I can see value in not wanting to punt him and develop him and see maybe he does. Maybe Cam gets in there and you're like, gosh, Cam's just really not ready at this point in time. It gives you some insurance. But more often than not, when you have a young quarterback, highly drafted young quarterback, and you bring in a first overall pick, you clear the runway. That's normal protocol. And you've got a couple veterans on the roster to kind of be the mentors that you would like for Cam. To me, Cam Ward has played so much football. Like, I'd be surprised if they didn't pick him with the expectation he's running out there week 1 and ready to go. And if that's the case, then I don't really see the spot for Will Levis at that time.
Yeah. Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Daniel, Shador Sanders is one of the more fascinating quarterback prospects we've had in the last couple of drafts. What do you like about him as a prospect, and what is going to have to happen around him for him to develop and be a successful QB in this league?
Yeah, I can't believe we made it this far without getting to Shador. This is like the longest I think I've ever had in an interview where it hasn't come up. But he is, whether, everybody can like it or not like it, he's the face of the draft. He's the most recognizable player. It feels, and I'm not comparing them as players or people, but do you remember when Manziel came out? Like, that was all anybody wanted to talk about, was where Manziel is going to go and how is he going to translate to the next level. Like, this has reached that level of intensity to me from the media side of things. But, what I like about Shador, I tell people there's things you can debate about him and things you can have strong opinions one way or the other. The things you can't debate, the kid is incredibly tough. Like he has taken a beating and just gets up. Like he is a very tough kid. He's very accurate. Those are the two calling cards, and that's what you're buying on him. He protects the football. He doesn't turn the ball over a ton, throwing the ball into harm's way. So those are the pluses. The biggest, to me, the one big issue that he's going to have, and it's going to be the challenge for him, is he has got to speed up his clock. Like he doesn't play fast. And a lot of those sacks, the offensive line was terrible 2 years ago. It was a little bit better this year, but he's just not operating fast enough, and he's not twitchy or explosive enough to get away from free rushers. So he's going to have to speed up his process and speed up his clock, which, to be honest, is a hard thing to do. So that to me is his biggest challenge. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He doesn't have a huge arm, and he's not a great athlete. So you are a true point guard, which means you've got to play fast. Like Joe Burrow plays extremely fast. That's going to be the challenge for this style of quarterback. And with Cam plays faster. Cam's got a bigger arm. If you restrict the space around Cam, in other words, like he doesn't have room to step into a throw, Cam can still drive the football with just his arm. Shador is going to need a little bit of space. He's not going to be able to drive the football. He can get it out, but he won't be able to drive it that way. So he comes with some pluses for sure, and there's some legitimate question marks and concerns, and I think that's why it's not just because of who he is and his dad and all the attention, but I think that's why he's drawn so much attention as a polarizing player.
In that same sentiment right there, with both of these Colorado guys, with Travis Hunter and Shador, had they had gone to in the sentiments of like playing faster, and if Travis can play both ways, had they play, let's go Big Ten or SEC ball and not at Jackson State and Colorado, do you think there's a higher take to say, yes, Shador is a bona fide top 10 pick had he played at Georgia or Texas or Alabama? And the same for Travis, too. I know Travis still is, but there's questions. Can he play both sides legitimately in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. To me, I think of the conference thing more along the lines of line of scrimmage guys. So it would be more like if you were a Colorado tackle, I'd be like, well, if you played in the SEC or the Big Ten, you'd be playing against NFL guys every week, and I'd have a much better feel for you. I think with the skill guys and even the quarterbacks, I can give you a long list of quarterbacks in the SEC, like Aaron Murray, who was ultra productive and, put up big numbers. Matt Barkley was at USC and put up 50 touchdowns. Like sometimes that doesn't always translate to the next level. You have to evaluate those individual skill sets at the quarterback and at the receiver position. So to me, that's more O-line, D-line. The competition you're going against, to me, can carry more weight and cause more concern. I think Travis Hunter could have played at Georgia. He could have done. I think he does everything at those schools as he did at Colorado. He's a really, really talented kid.
Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network joining us this morning on RKW. Two-parter for you, Daniel. When it comes to the running back position, are we seeing this more valued right now, just with what we saw last year with some of the backs in the league? And the Titans are serious about even adding another running back to a room where they've got a Tony Pollard and it, Tajay Spears. What about like a fourth or fifth round running back you'd have your eye on?
Yeah, it's fascinating. The running back discussion to me is always interesting. I was talking to a couple teams in the last 24 hours, and one of them, we were talking about the impact of Jahmyr Gibbs and how that obviously proved to be a great pick, and the value in the running back. And then I talked to somebody else, and they said, yeah, but if you look at last year, look at the free agent running backs, like some of the best running backs in the league. Saquon Barkley, obviously about Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, like these guys are all, you can get them all as free agents. So you don't even need to draft them. They're going to be good backs that get to the market. So it's very polarizing. My opinion is that if you have a team that's built up and you already have a good, you've kind of built up your offensive line in some of those key positions, then absolutely take one. It'll make a big time difference for you. Like the Rams, for instance, Kyron Williams, a good player. He had like almost 1,300 yards last year. He had one run over 30 yards. Saquon Barkley had 10. He had 13 when you add the playoffs. So, you can get better, and there's a difference between good and great at that position. In terms of the running backs in that kind of middle tier, third, fourth round, there's some really good options. I love R.J. Harvey from Central Florida, who's like 5'8", 205, but it's just he's a rocket. Like if Tariq Cohen had a jetpack, that's who R.J. Harvey reminds me of. But he's a really good player. DJ Giddens from Kansas State's a fun one. You've got all kinds of options. I think ETN from Georgia has a lot of ability. I think he'll go a little later. So lots of backs in this draft.
All right, Daniel, I'm going to ask you about someone that is going to make us unique as an interview. And I know you do a lot of these this time of year, and you probably have not been asked about this guy because technically he's not a draft prospect. But as an App State Mountaineer, we now in Tennessee have a lot of loyalty to a Mountaineer quarterback, and Joey Aguilar, who is committed to Tennessee. But what's Tennessee getting in this guy? Maybe not on the draft profile yet, Daniel, but as kind of a gunslinger who's got a really interesting skill set entering Josh Heupel's offense.
Yeah, he's got a strong arm. I actually went to one game last year. It was the first time I've been back up there in forever. It was not a great performance for him or the team, so I'm not going to allow that to sully my opinion.
Sure.
But he's big. He's got a strong arm. He can move around a little bit, and he's not afraid. And that's a positive and a negative. He's going to take his shot and be very aggressive. So I think that offense is very quarterback friendly. I'm not so sure I love how it translates to the NFL there, but it is a lot of space, and they'll have weapons around him. I think he'll be fine. Now, it's talent-wise, he's not Nico, but he's going to be fun to watch. There's going to be a lot of big plays.
Following up on that real quick, Daniel, how has the NFL continued to evolve its opinion on that style of offense? Because Patrick Mahomes out of the air raid, he's a unicorn for a lot of reasons and was successful. But Hendon Hooker's drop a couple of years ago with the ACL, with that offense, like Jackson Dart coming from a similar like Art Briles coaching tree system with Lane Kiffin. It used to be that these systems were not run by teams who were supremely talented, so those quarterbacks were never making it in the NFL. But the half field reads, the wide splits, are certainly unique to college football. How is the NFL changing, if at all, its opinion of quarterbacks coming out of systems like that?
It's darn near impossible to predict how it's going to turn out because it's almost like you're playing a different sport, with the way that those offenses are run and with the difference in the hashes and everything else. And I go back to, like, it used to be the Texas Tech, Baylor, and it's all has the roots all going to what we're talking about. You've correctly drawn the line there, so of the tree. So it's still a challenge, but you've got to evaluate the individual skill sets and do your best to translate how that skill set's going to play. But trust me, it doesn't matter how great a player is or what system he's coming from. You're hoping and wishing once you pick him because it's a different deal once you get up here.
Daniel Jeremiah has been our guest, NFL Network analyst on the desk this weekend for the NFL draft coverage from Green Bay. His final mock draft of the year out tonight at 7 o'clock our time here at Nashville on NFL Network. Excellent stuff as always, Daniel. Looking forward to watching this weekend. Thanks so much for the time.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys. I'll just say, look, I have to rank things. Draft cities, Nashville's number one.
Yes.
It's still number one. We'll
right.
see if Green Bay can catch them, but there's still nothing has compared to Nashville.
I love
to
it.
hear
Their
that.
biggest
right
issue
answer.
is going to be in the 40s. So, Daniel,
Yeah.
that's the only thing you got to fight. It was nice in Nashville.
I think you're assuming that just because I grew up in San Diego, I'm soft. That would actually be a correct assumption.
Layers.
By the way, I
Daniel.
love San Diego. Petco Park is by far one of the.
It's the goat.
Listen, we take a trip there almost every year just for the games and the environment. Beautiful city. The one California city I would live in is San Diego.
There you go. See, we all agree on everything. We agree
Right.
Nashville's a great draft
That's right.
city. The Padres are great, and the Dodgers are the devil. And I hope you guys
I
have a
love
wonderful
that.
day.
Amen. Thank
Even
you,
more
Daniel.
so.
Appreciate the time. There's Daniel Jeremiah with us here this
Appreciate
morning.
that.
The Dodgers, the devil. Great
Yeah.
way to
Jimmy White
to
gonna
wrap
have something to
It's
say
a
about
mess.
that.
let's go to Jim
That
in
rivalry
Nashville.
is
on line one.
real.
It's great.
I'm telling you.
Great stuff with Daniel Jeremiah. We'll react to some of that coming up next. Wrapping up hour 3 after this.
I've got a huge announcement for you guys from Two Rivers Ford. Just in, Two Rivers Ford is now offering employee pricing for everyone. That means you pay what they pay on almost every new Ford on the lot, man. And at Two Rivers Ford, what you see is always what you get. They don't do things like add expensive accessories or tack on service packages to increase the price of the vehicle. Absolutely not. Two Rivers Ford is upfront and honest every single time, and now they're offering you employee pricing. There's no better time to buy American. There's no better dealership than Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned and operated for over 40 years and home to the non-commissioned sales team, too. And now home to employee pricing for everyone. From America, for America. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. It's Ramon Foster for All-American Pest Control. It's that time of the year when bugs become buggier. If you've been outside, you know that. But it's also that time of year why I'm also happy to have All-American Pest Control. They take care of me and my family, and you have for years now. I've met the owners, man. By far one of the best families you'll meet. Just super cool, man. But speaking of family, my wife, you guys know I speak about it all the time. Well, she wants, just like I do, every single pest gone. So we are set up on All American's Complete Care Max program for pest control, mosquitoes, termites, and yard. What I love is this. If a pest gets inside, all I have to do is make a call. They send their pest experts back out to treat the inside for no extra charge. It is fantastic. So reach out to the company I trust, man. You can visit their website at yuckbugs.com. That's yuckbugs.com.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, wrapping up hour number 3 on this fine Wednesday morning. We'll be joined by Rhett Bryan, the mastermind, the architect behind award-winning Titans radio draft coverage, tomorrow with the whole crew. Amy Wells, Coach Dave McGinnis, Ramon Foster, Rhett Bryan. Going to be awesome. Coming up tomorrow from Nissan Stadium. You can head over to Nissan Stadium and join them. Grab a ticket, go hang out. Be fun.
Yes, indeed.
Good stuff. What stood out from what Daniel Jeremiah told us? A great conversation, as always, with DJ a few minutes ago.
So good.
Yes. One that Shador's the belle of the ball, the face of this draft. I thought that was super unique. But
It's
also
true.
in the same sense, I guess, the situation is Shador's also one of the most picked apart guy, too. It's fascinating. If you take Shador back 15 years or so, with his skill set of being a passer, is he a better draft pick than what they have available right now? Meaning, is he a bona fide top 10 guy if it wasn't for the incorporation of the running side of the quarterback? Sure. I've always said as of late that is super intriguing. How the dual threat has become more, because they used to be separate, like quarterback rankings. When I was coming up, you had the pro style that everybody loved, and then there was a dual threat guy.
Yeah.
Like, it was 2 separate rankings for quarterback. Now it's one. You better be both is the way I view it these days.
Yeah, it's a good point. And on the note of that, staying with the offense, I thought his answer was pretty set in stone in terms of what they need to do in the second round for Cam Ward, and that was go offense and go wide receiver. And I think we've kind of alluded to the fact that we're on that board too.
No doubt.
I know they're still saying let the board speak to us, and they could very well do the edge position. But I think I also trust a guy like Daniel Jeremiah that does this for a living. He's evaluating these guys each and every year, and he thinks to go get a young wide receiver to match up with Cam would be the right thing. And there's plenty there. He even said they could possibly trade down and still get a guy. So
he makes a great point that would you rather go, let's say, 6-11 and your defense is top 10 in the league and Cam Ward struggles because he has no one to throw to? Or would you rather go 5-12, your defense struggles, but Cam Ward shows you flashes of brilliance because he's got Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden or Jaden Higgins or any of these guys to throw to, and you've gone with one of those second-round players? What the Titans can't afford to do is reach.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, if you've got, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, if you've got a defensive prospect that's a 7.0, you don't reach for a receiver that's a 6.5, right? Like, it's not receiver no matter what at 35. That's where I think the trading back conversation grows louder. Like, all right, if one of those first pod wide receivers is not available to you at 35, can we put something together to move back and draft one of the second pod receivers, of which we like multiple? Because you're not going to move back if you love one guy. If you love one guy, you just take him when you have the opportunity. You don't take that draft. Do they like a couple of receivers along a same grade? Like, is Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, and Jack Besh all in the same group to where you can move back and be like, yeah, I'm good with any of these 3 guys? That's the dream scenario for the Titans at this point. Pick up another pick and then also have an option of one of 3 or 4 guys that you like that you can take later in the second round.
Sure. I thought it was funny, though. He had Luther Burden at 35 currently right now with where he lands. So, that could happen. He said there's been conversations that have been had about Luther Burden. And I asked the character question yesterday to Mike Borgonzi. I specifically kind of was looking at that being a person you could put in that category. And he was pretty frank about it, just saying, there's immaturity that happens in the college ranks, but it's up to us, and we know how to maybe evaluate, is this guy going to be okay to fit in our locker room? And pretty much said, though, like, we're going to give players a chance if they're that talented.
Yeah, his quote yesterday was, we want guys who have learned from their mistakes. Mistakes are not critical errors. Not learning from said mistakes or arrests or red flags, that is a critical error.
Yeah.
It is.
Kind of the point he made yesterday.
I will always say this, though, that you need that in your locker room from time to time because that edginess is what also make those guys better or good football players. And I don't mean you got to be a bad guy to be a good football player, but there's going to be chaos and chaotic players that you have on your squad. It's a matter of how do you mature, because that's a part of it too.
Sure.
And create a sense of loyalty to how you as a team handle guys like him. He's the only one.
The Shador Sanders buzz grew in a big way yesterday. Did you guys see what Tom Pelissero wrote at NFL.com?
What Tom?
He has put out like a Bible of information of what people are saying about quarterbacks. Again, anonymous quote season. One longtime NFL assistant said his time with Shador Sanders was, quote, the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. He's so entitled. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates. But the biggest thing is he's not that good.
Wow.
Well, tell us how you really feel, longtime NFL assistant.
My goodness, who is this?
Another AFC executive, longtime AFC executive to Tom Pelissero of NFL Media. Quote, it didn't go great in our interview. He wants to dictate what he's going to do and what's best for him. He makes you feel small.
Hold up, say that one more time.
AFC executive on Shador Sanders, quote, it didn't go great in our interview. He wants to dictate what he's going to do and what's best for him. He makes you feel small.
That sounds like that person got a personal problem.
Right?
Like
it sounds to me like Shador Sanders may have taken interviews with teams that are legitimate options for him differently than he did just all of his interviews.
Yeah.
Because it seems like from his camp, from what we know about the Titans canceling their workout with Shador, like there was, I think, a general understanding of who were legitimate options for him and who just wanted to meet with him.
No doubt.
That is where I could see this being explained.
He's a little bit more because of his father, though. This is where you get the experience side of it. Because of him, he understands who's pulling his leg and who's not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know
I
what
don't
I'm
think that's
saying?
necessarily a bad thing either.
I don't either, because sometimes, again, these meetings are somewhat made as Borgazzi said, too, to get intel. To find you out, figure you out more. And if you know, man, I ain't got no shot to go there. They got a guy plus a guy behind him that has played a long time. I'm not going there. Is it wrong probably in the interview situation? Possibly so. But if he was never going there anyway, why would I bother entertaining him and giving up all state secrets?
Right.
It's interesting.
Sound like a personal thing to that guy.
It's so
Does it? That's why I heard you. I just wanted you to say that again. Made you feel little.
Right.
And this is why Daniel Jeremiah said he is this. I mean, despite Cam Ward going at number 1 tomorrow, he's the star. Like, this is the one that everybody's talking about in terms of the talk.
Yeah.
They're both getting a lot of buzz, but the face of the draft is Shador Sanders. Like, Shador is the guy that First Take's going to talk about Friday morning.
Yes, the face.
No doubt. One NFC scouting director who has done extensive background work on Sanders summarized it this way to Tom Pelissero, quote, when you hear all the anecdotal stories about the person, it's not that he's a bad kid. He has been so insulated. It's going to be a culture shock when he really learns how a locker room really operates and how it really works inside a building. He's had so much input on the offensive game plan and who the coach is, and everything's been catered to him. When you walk in one of those NFL buildings, no one's going to give a crap about that. No one cares who your dad is. You're going to have to end up fighting through some adversity. That is an NFC scouting director at NFL.com to Tom Pelissero. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I also think there's a lot of truth to that for every quarterback prospect who enters the NFL. If you're good in college, things are being catered to you.
You best believe it.
Not just because your dad's the coach. If you are a good college quarterback, the offense is built around you.
Other side of this is, too, if he gets that good, they're going to do whatever the heck he wants them to do. Offensively, as a team, no matter what. Hey, we want to go bowling today. They're going bowling.
Did you know I bowled at 232? Have I mentioned that before?
You know what I hate about you?
We do need to go bowling sometimes.
Kayla, what is
Coming up, Rhett Bryan at Titans Radio joins us in studio next.
It's Ramon Foss for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, they have been here in business since 1990. Our family-owned and operated, man. Best part I like about them, well, one of the main parts I like about Hiller is this, man. They take care of the customer on every job, every single time, and they stand behind the work. Personally, I must say, they are some of the most professional, personable people that I've dealt with and had come into my house and do work around it, too. They're just good at what they do. And it's because they live by this motto, happy or bill, the service is free. If you aren't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right, whether it be giving you money back or just fixing it until they get it the way you want to. Again, I told you, they're professional, experience, and always trustworthy technicians. Whenever they come into your house, they leave it cleaner and better than they found it. Other thing Hiller offers you is true transparency pricing. What this means is every part of the job is lined up front, so the homeowners can easily understand what they're paying for and why. Simply put, no hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill. To book with Hiller or to learn more about them, simply visit happyhiller.com.
Good morning. It's 9:01 from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. It is confirmed the Tennessee Titans are on the clock tomorrow. They'll stick and pick at number 1 overall in the NFL draft. General Manager Mike Borgonzi spoke to the media in a pre-draft press conference yesterday saying, quote, "We've come to a consensus. The entire organization is to stay at that pick. So, Titans fans, you'll have to wait till Thursday night tomorrow who they'll pick. You can find out, of course, who they'll pick, number 1 overall, with Titans Radio's coverage starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. And in baseball, the Tennessee Vols beat Lipscomb 11-1 in 7 innings. Andrew Fisher, Hunter Inslee, Cannon Peebles, and Levi Clark all homered for the Vols. Austin Breedlove got the start on the mound, throwing 3 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, allowed 2 hits, but 0 runs. Tennessee next travels to LSU for a weekend series. It'll be a 6 versus 7 matchup starting this Friday. And number 9 ranked Vanderbilt Commodores lost to Middle Tennessee State yesterday 5-3. Keaton Ray, who was hitless through 8 innings, hit the go-ahead RBI to give the Blue Raiders the win. Vanderbilt now will travel to Ole Miss for a weekend series starting on Friday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will into the 4th and final hour on your Wednesday. We are brewed up by Scooters Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. And we are joined in studio by the architect, the producer, the mastermind of award-winning Titans radio coverage of the 2025 NFL Draft, which will be heard on these airwaves tomorrow night. He is the one and only Rhett Bryan. Good morning.
Yay. I'm holding up 4 fingers for the 4th hour.
That's right.
Then I won for significance of it. We have one more day.
Put the 4 back up for the 4th quarter of draft series.
Yeah, that's right.
We're at like the 2-minute warning.
But I hold up a 1. I hold up a 1 for multiple reasons. Obviously, the Titans made it known they are not trading off that spot. They are taking the 1st overall selection. And I'm holding up a 1 for Cameron Ward because I believe that's what that is.
That is.
I like it.
Yeah.
Rock.
I like it. You do make the note. It is Cameron Ward. The expectation is tomorrow that he will be known as Cameron and not Cam moving forward.
That's what I understand.
Okay.
Look at that.
So that's why I've referenced him all week wherever I've done hits, and I've done a bunch of them as Cameron Ward. That is what he has, I believe he has asked to be called, and that is what we're going to do. We're going to literally put respect on his name.
That's right. That's awesome, though. I love that.
But yeah, Cameron Anthony Ward. And I will forever remember his birthday. He'll be 23, May 25th. May 25th, 02. The reason I know that date, May 25th, a year later, the day of his first birthday, was the first time I laid eyes on and held my daughter Gracie in China, in Qinzhou City, China.
Really?
When it was our gotcha day. And
that's awesome.
Pretty wild. But yeah,
cool.
when I saw that, I was like, yep, know that date, know it well.
Nice.
That's really cool.
Pretty cool, Rhett.
Good
Really
stuff.
cool.
Jeez, man. Who's, by the way, an assassin these days, too, boy?
Yeah.
Like it, Rhett.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Lots from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park yesterday, Rhett. They, when asked about why they brought in so many defensive linemen on top 30 visits, it almost was an exact quote of what you've been telling us on this show for a while. Top 30 visits doesn't necessarily mean you want that position. Doesn't necessarily mean that, you are immediately linked to drafting a player. It sometimes is just, hey, we have 90% of what this player's story is based on the film. Let's get the last 10%. And I thought they, word for word, said what you've been saying on this show for a long time about how they use those top 30 visits.
And listen, that's not just posturing for trying to keep you off the trail of what, they're putting out there and what's reported. It is. This whole process, in fact, if you heard Brian Callahan, Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi yesterday, in regards to when and it may have been you, Kayla, to ask him about Cameron Ward. I don't remember, but they talked about, yes, we've seen the film, we've seen the workouts. We want to get to know the player. We want to see how intelligent they are, what kind of person they are. Are they a natural leader? So that's part of it. And on top 30 visits, the other part of it is maybe there's some anomaly in the film, or maybe there's something that they got intel on, and like, yeah, let's bring this guy in and let's talk to this guy. Let's see what makes him tick, and let's figure out, maybe we can straighten up and reconfigure the Rubik's Cube back to its original point here. So we're like, okay, that's what that is. And sometimes it's, okay, we got him in. Oh, now we know. All right, we're good.
Right.
And you never hear from him again. Now, there are some cases that you can draw a line to where it makes sense. Now, while they said that, did you notice how many wide receivers were on top 30 visits to the Titans?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
More than any other position they brought in.
Mm-hmm.
So, one would think, look, we know that a wide receiver is one of the needs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'll give you a better example, and it's your former team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mm-hmm. They signed Jalen Warren to a 1-year tender.
Yep.
They got no backs under contract past 2025.
Absolutely.
Over 25% of their top 30 visits, running backs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
8 different visits with running backs.
Have to be.
So I think, now, I don't know if that's it at 21. I think it might be Shador Sanders at 21. We're going to get into all that with quarterbacks today. But sure. But the thing is, you can get backs in round 2 and 3,
Sure.
And there's one of those they're missing. They don't have a pick. Is it round 2?
They don't have a 2.
But that was for the DK Metcalf.
DK,
yeah. But there's backs you can get in round 3. So, but I'm just saying, I think you can draw a line to that one just because of where the roster construction is for them right now.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of stuff you get on Titans Radio Thursday, Friday night, man.
Absolutely. What else kind of stuck out from what Mike Bergonzi, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan said yesterday, Rhett? Because they talked for about a half hour, and they dropped some nuggets along the way.
I just think the one thing that I think was smart on their part was just to say, hey, listen, we have they didn't necessarily talk about entertaining offers, but that we're sticking and picking. We're going to take this pick. And they were a little both sides of their mouth speech of, generational talent versus need versus. And it's like, look, the thing is, if Cameron Ward is your guy, he's your guy. And that's what you're going to do.
Right.
And the other part of it, this is an interesting thing. I saw this just a little while ago that kind of lends to what some of that thought may also be. Jordan Schultz, did you see this?
Yeah.
Several teams picking the top 10 are open to trading down. The challenge has been finding teams willing to move up per sources. From what I'm hearing, there isn't a strong push to trade up this year at the top, especially if it means giving up significant value that aligns with traditional trade charts. As one source put it, quote, the current offers are 70 cents on the dollar. End quote.
Oh, wow.
And that's the interesting part about those trade charts, because not every draft class is created equally at the top, in the top 10.
Well, but the other part of it is the modified, like the Jimmy Johnson chart was fantastic in its first emanation. And Coach Mack and I had a long conversation about this the other day because he worked with Dave Wanstead in Chicago after his time in Dallas with Jimmy Johnson when he created that thing. Now, the problem was this was made before free agency and salary cap and all those things. So there's a modified version of that. But if you still look at what it takes, point value for that number 1 overall pick versus, you have to get a king's ransom to make the math work. Yeah. So that's part of it. But I think the other is at some point along the trail, it could have been in the last couple of weeks, could have been since the combine. But if Cameron Ward is the guy, like I think we pretty much believe that he is, at some point they're like, this is the guy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the other thing that comes out of it, and Brian Callahan has mentioned this on more than one occasion just in talking about prospects generally, and I go back to finding out who the person is, visiting with that person, time on task is what Mac always talks about. He said, I don't grade these quarterbacks super critique-wise. He said, I can show you what they did on film, but I don't have the advantage of sitting down in that 18, 20-minute window at the combine and then a pro day and the whatever and getting to meet Calvin and Patrice Ward and learning who they are and what kind of family unit they are and the solid foundation he apparently has. They went to every game the kid had at every place. And going from Texas to Pullman, that's not an easy.
Good luck trying to get. It's
you
a
know
long
all
track.
about that.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
can't
Jim
even
Wyatt.
fly into Pullman.
Well, it's like Jim Wyatt telling me yesterday. He said, "Hey man, just want to say hello before I'm going." I said, "Well, safe travels." He said, "Yeah, I got to fly into Milwaukee and then drive to Green Bay,
fly
for the
into
draft."
Spokane, drive to Pullman.
Ain't it?
He said it's about 90 minutes, I believe,
hour and a
for
half.
that drive. So, but anyway, they made that happen because they love their son. And listen, comes from a family of athletes. His sisters, shot putter in the family. There's some athletics there, and there's competition in that. And I think that's where the genesis of his, for lack of a better term, it's overused, but his alpha mentality comes from. It's deep rooted within his family tree. And just, I think once they learned more and more about him, and then obviously talking to people along the way that are involved in his path, he's a natural born leader from all indications and just a solid person.
We'll talk more about future Titans quarterback Cameron Ward with Rhett Bryan coming up next. Plus, Shador Sanders, Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, and the like. We'll talk quarterbacks with the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan. More in studio after this.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Maybe you have looked elsewhere. Well, I'm here to tell you there is one place you can go with the best reputation in town. That's Nolensville Road Auto Mart. And they're different for a few simple reasons. They have been doing business in Nashville for 61 years. They are Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under $12,000. So if you're new to town and you need a place to trust, they've got you. Maybe you need that first car for the new driver, the 16-year-old in your family. Well, they can do that too. 615-242-1279. That is where you call my friends at Nolensville Road Auto Mart. The Google reviews are excellent with just one location on Nolensville Road, close to Thompson Lane. They'll get you in and out in an hour or less. And the best part, they're the oldest buy here, pay here in Nashville, and they'll work with your own financing if you have it. Flexibility, transparency, and honesty. That's why I recommend Nolensville Road Auto Mart. Call them at 615-242-1279. RKW Brewed by Scooters Coffee continues in hour 4 this morning with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today to order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Rhett Bryan in studio, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. So Cameron Ward will become a Tennessee Titan tomorrow night, Rhett Bryan, as we begin scouting quarterbacks with him being at the top.
And let me preface that by saying that's what we believe.
Right.
Yes, right.
I think it was all but said yesterday.
That's fair.
Obviously, anything can change. But, yeah, I would say a little less than 36 hours out, that's probably where we are.
You mean
it was
what we're hearing.
Yes,
That is
that's right.
what we're hearing.
It was funny yesterday because Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker were very buttoned up with, you're going to have to wait and see, who we pick. We have a consensus. And then a lot of Brian Callahan's answers. It's almost like he caught himself mid-answer sometime with a twinkle in his eye talking about Cam Ward.
And here's the thing about that. First of all, he referenced it yesterday. He's done it.
Right.
He was a part of a staff that in 2020, in the worst year you can have a draft because of the situation with the pandemic, they were a part of that team that looked at a guy who went through the transfer portal from Ohio State in a super year and national championship year for the LSU Tigers in Joe Burrow. And I think that's where the excitement is hard to contain for him in his offensive mind, because another thing he said multiple times from January to this point is that he's not one of these coaches where Muhammad's got to come to the mountain. Right. Listen, you're not going to have to run my offense. I'm going to pattern this offense around your skill set. And so that really, leads the conversation in terms of some of the things he said yesterday. I want to give you guys something. This is interesting.
Okay.
I'm going to read a thumbnail description, and this is going to be interesting. This is just the negatives on this player.
Okay.
While being a bit of a gunslinger has good points, it also has its bad points. This person needs to show more patience from the pocket and more discipline in allowing receivers to break free downfield. Will take a chance on a big play and pass up an easy throw to get a first down. While he has upgraded his accuracy skills and touch, he's still in need of work on getting better on throwing the ball with better anticipation and better timing with receivers into and out of a cut and a break. That's just some of the You know who that is? First of all, it sounds like Cameron Ward.
It does. It really does.
That is from Mike Detillier's M&D Draft Report 2017 on Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
I figured.
And that's why you will hear, and I've heard all kinds of comps. Mac hates comps. Coach Mac hates comparisons because it's not fair to the player that you're talking about in going to the future, and then the person that it is the comp. I've heard he's Steve McNair. I've heard Albert Breer did a nice piece yesterday for Sports Illustrated on quarterbacks. He called him a sawed-off Ben Roethlisberger.
I saw that too.
But the one thing that I've heard a few people say, including Coach Dave McGinnis, that there are some traits there that remind him of Patrick Mahomes. Not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not putting that on Cameron Ward. There's one of one. But it's interesting that some of those things show up, and it's that sidearm delivery, like he's a shortstop trying to throw out a runner at first, and a quick whip of the wrist, and just making a throw happen in a place where it's like, what in the world?
Right.
Brian Callahan said that yesterday about, no, throw it away. Oh, wow, what a great play. Right? And that's some of what you're going to get in it. I think if they can dial that back in him just a notch, that's where they'll get some really good work out of him in either give up the ghost and throw it out of bounds or get the easy play in the short game, knowing that the intermediate range is probably where he's really, really good.
But that hero mentality, though, is how your legend is born, though. So you do have to see that, whether it be in practice or in a game where you say, don't throw, and then you say, oh, okay, well, never mind. There's been numerous times I've seen it happen with guys or play with guys that you say, the ball wasn't supposed to go there.
And Ramon, from a player's perspective, as a vet with a guy that's not quite 23 years old, 23 next month, That's how you win guys like you over, right?
It is. And
not just an offensive lineman either.
No, absolutely not. But Will was asking that question, how does Cam Ward come into the locker room and win guys over?
It's a valid question.
It starts right there. It starts, you win the bigs over because we don't get an opportunity to have input on nothing, okay? Do your job and shut up is what we're told to do up front as offensive linemen. But in those moments where you see guys make those dynamic plays, that's the difference between backups and starters, though, too. The backups come in, and most times the fans, people that cover them, and even the teammates go to the guy and say, hey, don't mess this up, right? But the starter's allowed to do whatever the heck he wants to, and that's what makes them unique and special and also helps you believe in the idea that when you walk into anybody's stadium, we're going to beat y'all. Like, that is such a beautiful place to get to at some point.
Absolutely.
But it goes through, I think, first, he got to win over the bigs, in my personal opinion. The receivers, you get the ball when I give you the ball.
Right.
And, Will, that was a long interruption, and I do apologize for that.
I'm glad you
but
brought that up. That was a great call.
I mean, look, on the Coach Mack Rhett board, Cam Ward's #1 top quarterback in this deal. And while we have one other quarterback in Pod 1, that's Shador Sanders, we're going to find out tomorrow night where that happens. But Cameron Ward, I believe, is their pick and certainly is the quarterback in this draft. And I was telling you before we went to break, he comes from a family of athletes. His father played football. His mother was the head girls basketball coach at Columbia High School. His older sister, Aaliyah, has taken over as that basketball coach role. But he has another sister, Chantel, that's a shot putter. In fact, he did some shot put himself.
Putting, yeah.
But he comes from a family of athletes and, more importantly, competition. That burn.
Yeah.
I think that's where his foundation begins as a person and that alpha role and mentality. But
that's also where a lot of when people find that genetic genes, because they're family or people they've been around, whether it be coaches, family, household, you facilitate competition. Everything's a competition. Did you eat your food first? Did you eat all your food? Who's first up the steps? Like the noise you hear in your house when you guys are in a position to have kids, whatever the case may be, you hear it like, sit down. Don't tell them sit down. No, absolutely. Facilitate that.
From what I understand, in some things I've seen, Cameron Ward has talked about a night of family board games like Monopoly is not your average family's night of
If you ain't
Monopoly.
seen a sibling cry on Uno, then y'all ain't really friends like that. Nieces and nephews get through.
And draw 4 again. Uno reverse and draw 4 again. That's how character is built. So, Rhett, after Cameron Ward, it gets interesting at quarterback. And Shador Sanders, according to Vegas now, is most likely to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. There's one book that even had him as even odds to be a second-round pick as of last night, which seems to be a little far-fetched. What do you make of him and what the tape shows and who the football player Shador Sanders is outside of all of the noise and the Dion effect of all of it and the now anonymous people that want to say he's the worst interviewer they've ever seen?
Well, I don't know who that anonymous person is. I heard that earlier before I got on with you guys this morning. And listen, not every interview and not every process is going to be smooth and easy. How much truth there was to that, I don't know. But I know that he can help a team pretty early on. And it's just because of things that have developed through his path to getting here. And obviously, Jackson State is not a winning program, and they made it exciting there. Colorado, I think, won, one game prior to them coming there a couple of years ago. And he's made that relevant again. And you can take out the Dion effect, Coach Prime effect all you want, but that is one of the reasons why I think is made for this and can help somebody early on, is because he's had that level of expectation. He's seen his Hall of Fame father navigate things. And so the moment is not too big for him in this. I think the important thing is, where does he go that can help him succeed easy? Because, listen, I'm not trying to say disparaging things about young men who were playing offensive line at Colorado, but that O-line was not great. I mean, he was sacked 94 times in the 2 seasons he was there as a Buffalo. So, but yeah, he can operate an offense. I just would like to see him with some protection around him and what he can do, because he's going to need that. That one thing I will say is and I think I said it last week, he does not have the athletic traits that Cameron Ward does. It's amazing that he's Deion's son because he and his brother Shiloh, they don't have it. They don't have
what I said?
I mean,
dang.
Listen, Deion Sanders is one of the fastest human beings I've ever seen in pads and a helmet in a football game.
Easily.
I mean, I've seen it with my own two eyes. Not on TV. I'm talking about covering, it's
greatest
crazy.
athlete conversation. Bo, Deion, who else is in that conversation? I mean, there's numerous guys you say to yourself, dude, Walter Payton. Like there's groups of athletes you just say, boy, his kids are lucky to have his DNA. Not in this one.
That is not what happened.
Not in this one.
It's just the DNA did not, that gene pool, somehow it went a different direction. But the crazy thing that I think we're going to, because Cameron Ward, if he is indeed the first overall pick of the Titans tomorrow night, then it quickly pivots, I think, on a national stage to who is quarterback number 2 taken. And I think we live in a world where Jackson Dart might be taken ahead of him.
And yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Why would Jackson Dart in this year's draft be taken ahead of a guy like Shador Sanders, who is pretty much the face of the draft right now?
One of the reasons is you saw the way that Jackson could operate that Ole Miss offense. And the other part of it is just there are 32 different war rooms with draft boards that line all 4 walls. And so I say it all the time, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it's where does he go that works for the style of quarterback that Jackson Dart is. Now, if we're looking at numbers, I've thought for a while that Shador at 21 to the Steelers is probably his true floor. But with what came out last week out of New Orleans with Derek Carr and the supposed injury or problems he's having with his shoulder, maybe that's where it is at number 9. However, in talking to a couple of people that are pretty close to that organization, the one thing they haven't done since Drew Brees hung up the cleats is have a massive TNT box, blow it up, and start over, rebuild.
Good point.
And I could see a world where they take a different position. Maybe it's an edge pass rusher or an interior defensive lineman. They need offensive line help because Ryan Ramczyk just retired. And taking a more deep talent pool, top-tier player in that window to set themselves up for a quarterback of the future, because next year's quarterback class is going to be much different from what we're talking about tomorrow night.
Rhett, I'm very interested in Tyler Shuck. I'm not necessarily convinced by Tyler Shuck.
You're the leader of the fan club, aren't you?
Necessarily. I think the train has gone off the tracks a little bit, maybe a little bit with him. Talk me into Tyler Shuck being a productive NFL quarterback. What is the pathway for him to making it as a guy with a lot of injuries, but also a lot of experience playing for a lot of really good head coaches?
I'll see your question and ask you a question to begin with.
Okay.
What is it that sets you off about him that he is not him, that he is a backup quarterback in your opinion?
He only played more than 8 games once in his 7-year college career.
So he's Mr. Glass. That's what you're saying. Okay. But here's the thing. All of those injuries, none of them were soft tissue stuff or throwing shoulders, labrums in his shoulder, anything like that. It was a broken leg and 2 straight collarbones in 3 years straight at Texas Tech. And then obviously at Oregon, he was in a place where there's some log jams of talent.
Yeah, for sure.
But he puts together one good year healthy. And one of the reasons why I say he's going to get drafted a lot earlier than people realize, one, it's quarterback draft versus the other positions. But the other is when you go to Jeff Brom can turn,
very underrated head football coach.
Absolutely.
Very underrated.
And I think you're going to be surprised at what some people come out and say the closer we get to this tomorrow night of what their evaluation is of him, because they think he's someone that could help somebody pretty early on as well. I don't necessarily think that Tyler Shuck is a night 1 pick. I think we're talking Friday night. Yeah. But I think we're talking earlier on Friday night than people anticipate.
I'll take it. Jalen Milroe is a very fast runner. I spend a time in a sport that's got a lot of really fast runners who I also wouldn't put as starting quarterback in the National Football League. I've watched a lot of Jalen Milroe. All of us have watched a lot of Jalen Milroe. There's inaccuracies. There is kind of fight or flight in the pocket where he is just tucking it and running it pretty quickly. The second things break down. What does the Mac Rhett board say about Milroe, who is another guy scheduled to be in Green Bay this weekend, who is climbing up some draft boards as we get closer to this
So
time?
we have him in pod 3.
Okay.
With your favorite Tyler Shuck. But at the top of pod 3, knowing that it could be second round, that either one of those guys, excuse me, are selected in. Jalen Milroe is one of the more polarizing quarterback prospects not named Shador Sanders just because of some of the things you mentioned. He ran a 4.37 hand time 40 at his pro day at 6'1", just under 6'2", and 219. That ain't chump change. I mean, that's moving. I think the thing with him is the touch and the accuracy. It's the things that a lot of these quarterbacks are going to read in their thumbnails about what they need to work on. Yeah. I think the reason he gets drafted in night 2, I don't necessarily think night 1, but anything can happen. But in night 2,
going to Green Bay.
Huh?
He's still going to Green Bay, that is.
He's the one fringe player of those 15, 16 players you're like, what I do?
Jackson Dart's not going anymore.
Right. I don't really
but I
get
think
that,
Shahad Campbell jumped back in. I think there's now 16. Okay. There was 15 for a minute. Now I think there's now 16.
All right. I am going to derail you right there, but there's just a lot of confidence in it.
Absolutely. And maybe that's based on some intel they got from somebody saying, hey, if you're there at whatever, we're going to trade back into the bottom of the round and we're going to take you. Because, I mean, and I'm not saying he's this guy, but in Ozzie Newsome's last draft as the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens, they traded back into the bottom of the round and took Lamar Jackson from Louisville. And everybody's like, whoa, that's worked out pretty good so far, right?
I'd say.
So, but Jalen Milroe, I think what teams are salivating over and impressed by is, can he put stuff on tape more consistently like the game against Georgia? That's what they're looking for.
Right.
But the thing is, there's not enough of that.
Exactly.
I think he's done very well in this draft process. He showed up well every time he was asked to do things in the pre-draft process. And I think that's the other thing as to why you're hearing his name a little more. I see reports this morning that say that there'll be as many as 4 running backs taken in the first round and only 1 quarterback. Who in the devil knows what's going to happen outside of pick number 1?
Love it. Chaos.
It is utter chaos. And we are here for it.
Tomorrow night, Titans radio coverage of the NFL Draft. Rhett, remind the people one more time where and when they can find you guys over the next couple of days and what to expect from Titans radio draft coverage.
We hope that you have gotten your ticket to go to the draft party at Nissan Stadium tomorrow night. We will be in the West Club section, on the air at 6, off the air at 9, to cover all that is what we believe to be the Cameron Ward selection. And a few things throughout, and then some special guests sprinkled in it. Of course, it'll be myself, Coach Dave McGinnis, Amy Wells, big man here, here, Ramon Foster.
Nice.
And we will formally introduce the new voice of the franchise, Taylor Zarzour.
Nice.
On the coverage to start out. And we're not going to ask him to do heavy lifting in this, but we're going to formally introduce him and introduce him to our radio stations on the network that are taking the coverage. But then on Friday night, we are at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park in the podcast room where the OTP emanates from. And we will have coverage starting at 6, which that's when the second round starts, and we'll be off at 9. And I would anticipate we will have special guests sprinkled into that. I think you will probably hear from both head coach Brian Callahan and general manager Mike Borgonzi. But yeah, 6 hours of stuff, and then I'll be doing updates up and top and bottom of the hour on the Zone while Zach Lyons and Stoney Keeley are doing some coverage for the Zone on Saturday for rounds 4 through 7. So big weekend. I've been prepping for this test for about 3.5 months, and here we are.
It's great stuff, and there is just nobody that does the draft like Titans Radio, the Bible of prospect info and thumbnails and different things for the entire league, not just the Titans. It's incredible the work you guys have done. Looking forward to listening tomorrow.
That credit goes mostly to Coach Dave McGinnis, because when you have an ex-head coach in the league that has taught me the way, but has been and done that. He's been in those war rooms. He's worked those phones. He's told me the intricacies of the draft and how it works. you pay attention. And he's taught me more than I could ever pass on to somebody else or even retain. That's why I take lots of notes and have paper everywhere.
And
Sorry, Earth Day
thick
yesterday.
binders, too, you have.
Oh, yeah.
Binders.
This is just a little piece. I've
Right.
killed about 4 trees. Sorry, Earth Day yesterday. But
It's for a good cause.
Just plant one.
Yeah, it's all good.
And
For a
you
good
know
cause.
what? That's exactly what I'll do.
Rhett Bryan, our guest. Thank you, Rhett, as always. Appreciate you.
Good to have
Appreciate
y'all.
you,
And here we go. Draft tomorrow night.
Finally.
Coming up, midweek motivation from Inky Johnson, plus breaking news from the Nashville Predators. No, the coach didn't get fired, but they do have another announcement that we'll tell you next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee, wrapping up the show this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Appreciate Daniel Jeremiah and Rhett Bryan joining us today. Appreciate Television's Pate and Kennedy for stopping by. Let's bring your fiance to work day.
There you go.
Talking about the NFL draft. How about that?
Just made Rhett a TV
Lovely.
star.
The Nashville Predators have unveiled plans for a $650 million arena expansion featuring the largest rooftop on Broadway, restaurant, hotel, and retail space, a potential sports bar and bowling alley, Bowling 232, in preparation for a potential WNBA team. The Tennessean with the story. Sean Henry saying, can this be the most modern building in America, serving the best fans in America for the next 30, 40, 50 years? Turns out it can.
Mm-hmm. You got to keep up with the Joneses. And in terms of what, Nashville has become on Broadway, there's a lot of newness to it. And this is an older arena. And if you really do want to expand, and I truly think they, at some point, feel they can get a WNBA team. I think the WNBA team is the next pro team to come here. But if you're going to do that, you definitely need to start upgrading what that is. And it's a great facility, and it's in prime, state real. I can't even think of anything that's that good in terms of right there on Broadway. You can just go have a drink, skip over, and go to a game. But it definitely needed some renovations, and the largest rooftop, that does not surprise me.
It just lets you know Nashville ain't about to slow down.
No.
Whatever the touristy side that you thought, I'll be glad when it's, because I've heard Austin, Texas has slowed down a little bit with as far as people wanting to go there and party. Nashville is watch us do work. This is a good thing for them. I mean, the rooftop part of it itself I'm sold there.
I thought the Titans were about to have the largest rooftop.
Yeah.
All this to me sounds like they're competing with the team across the river, which is what they always do. Because the Predators, I'm choosing my words. I'm going to simmer down for a minute. I think the Predators want to be the biggest show in town and want to now have the best building in town. It's just funny, the exact quote of, can this be the most modern building in America? Sounds exactly like what the Titans are trying to do across the river.
Interesting.
I mean, obviously there's room for both. I think anyone in either organization would tell you that, but
I think anybody
it sounds
would want
to me like they're trying to compete.
Two good teams. I mean, this whole wanting one or two teams. Let's have all the teams in Nashville be good. Why do we gotta just want one or two
I think
or three?
the fans certainly would share that perspective, but I think both organizations, if you gave them truth serum, would say, "No, we want to be the biggest show in town." So
right.
Anyway,
that is interesting though.
I know it's
very interesting.
I don't know. ESPN's Chris Lowe with a long story about Nico Iamaleava. Yes, we're still talking about Nico Iamaleava because we have some new info regarding his transfer from Tennessee to UCLA. There is a ton of stuff here. We do not have time to get to all of it. But I think the end of it is the really interesting part where we get some nuggets. So according to ESPN's Chris Lowe, Nico Iamaleava, as he was walking off the practice field the week of the spring game, says, quote, "I'm getting in the portal if you need to handle your business." One of his teammates goes to Josh Heupel to tell Heupel that Nico did that. Nico met with Heupel, and Nico reportedly assured Heupel that everything was good and it was all a bunch of rumors. The following day, the report from On3 comes out, saying that Tennessee and Nico are in active negotiations. Nico's camp says that actually still wasn't the case. Says Iamaleava does not have an agent. His personal friend Cora Lander says no. Sources close are still saying they had zero conversations with Heupel or Spire since January regarding his deal and denied they were seeking $4 million. As his phone blew up, Iamaleava was blindsided, went to dinner, but later that night, sources close to him said he reached his breaking point. He couldn't understand why the reports were coming out, where they came from, or who he could trust moving forward, and he felt pressured to make a decision. He was ready to leave, but this report says Dad encouraged him to sleep on it. The next morning, he didn't show up to practice and didn't alert anyone in the program, and he was out. Nick Iamaleava urged his son to meet face-to-face with Heupel and his coaches. Iamaleava felt betrayed, sources said, and did not speak with Heupel on Friday. Several people within the Vols program tried to reach out to no avail.
That's one of the main things I heard. Nico was hurt. One, by the fans that attacked him like that. His mom, from my understanding, acknowledged that, look, we knew this Tennessee fan base was passionate. We didn't know they were that passionate. They've only seen the good side of it, too. But I also would point the four fingers back at Dad. and say, Dad, you don't put Nico in that situation to have that adult conversation. Y'all either get representation as a camp or figure this stuff the heck out because Dad ain't on him. Hey, son, you go handle big business with the coaches in the university. That ain't right.
There's also credible people saying Tennessee is not the one that put out the story. And that I think a lot of the reporting is that people at other schools hearing that Nico might be on the market were the ones who talked to Pete Nakos.
In this article, too, is teams that had very, very strong NILs and needs for a quarterback, too. Hearing that they reached out to not Alabama, but Ole Miss been in this conversation. Mm-hmm. The fact that Lane and Ole Miss said no. Now, I don't think Lane is that stand-up of a guy to be like, no, I'm not screwing over Tennessee again. But here's a situation where you can have a quarterback that fits your style of offense, and you said no. That right there rings bells to me.
He's got Austin Simmons. He's good.
I know, but still, like, legitimately putting yourself to, like, no, we're good.
This is a
they're
deep
overexposed
article.
at that point.
Holy
They feel like they've got Nico at home and Austin Simmons, the lefty, who is going to be a stud, in my opinion, this year. Separate conversation. Man. But anyway, I would say we'll react more to that tomorrow because it just came out. But tomorrow's draft day, so we're probably not going to react to that tomorrow.
Yeah. Interesting article, though. I'm just starting
It is really good. We'll retweet it. Chris Lowe putting it out, and Chris, as credible as it gets as well, not only as a college football writer, but especially as one who is settled in Knoxville and has covered Tennessee for a long time. So good stuff from CeeLo there. We finish up the show with a guy that CeeLo's talked to quite a bit. Midweek motivation of our good friend Inky Johnson. Draft day tomorrow. We'll have you covered. Inky Johnson gets it through your Wednesday morning right now.